Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto mastered all the skills needed to be a formidable ninja part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. At some point in time, in another universe, there was a planet much like Earth. There are many differences as you can imagine. One of the most visible is the fact the continents and countries are shaped in an entirely different way. The continents on our planet were once a big one that later broke apart to form Earth as we have it today. That's basically what it is here. There are some large island clusters scattered across the planet which in some areas are dense enough to form mini-nations, mostly of the republic government type. However, the distinguishing feature of this world is not just geographical. While it has human beings, the ones here are born with the potential to use something unique to them. The ability to use superhuman strength and supernatural powers. This is all thanks to something called chakra, which is something of a mix of spiritual and willpower energy in our own terms. Chakra exists in their bodies as if it was a parallel bloodstream and is equally important as the red fluid in their veins in order to live. By tapping into this chakra network, as they call it, they can vastly augment their physical strength and perform feats that defy and distorts physics as we know it in our world. This was not discovered by the inhabitants until almost 3,000 years into their existence as a technology-wielding species. Note: technology can be anything from the wheel to modern radios and so on. Just to be clear, since this discovery, those living on this world have researched and practiced this new ability, and made good use of it in their building and improving their way of life. However, such a discovery is not without its downsides. An increase of warfare efficiency and frequency of conflicts, not to mention the brutality. After many years of both arms and chakra technique race, the continent has been divided into many nations, large and small. The biggest countries are named after one of the elements. The elements are fire, water, earth, wind, and lightning. The smaller countries mostly use branch-off titles from any of the bigger ones, for example Land of Waves or Wave Country. Both work to indicate the same country. While others use original names non-affiliated with the bigger ones, for example Land of Rice or Rice Country. During the chaotic formation of these nations, when wars were as brutal as they were common, one nation was caught in the struggle involuntarily. The people of that nation not wanting any part of the war despite they being proud warriors. Unlike the other nations, they were practitioners of not only the martial arts, henceforth referred to as taijutsu, ninja arts and elemental styles commonly used by other nations, but also of something unique to them. This style or art they called spirit art. Spirit art or spirit style has two sides to its use. One being the benevolent style which is used for the betterment of the self in some form or your fellow human, while the other side, labeled as ghost style, is for offensive purposes. These techniques focuses on stealth and sneak attacks. These techniques and their origin have always been a mystery, but since that war it's been all but forgotten. The reason these people weren't more successful and more widely known is because they weren't a major nation. As a result, they were vastly outnumbered when two big nations clashed, with them in the middle. It was during this awful war that a decision was made, a decision which still has effects in their counterpart to a modern era. Seeing no way to win this war which was forced upon them, the Kamikage, meaning spirit shadow, a kage is the leader of the military of a country as well as a good portion of the civilians, had a meeting with his council. Kamikage-sama, one of the ninja generals, spoke. The armies of lightning and earth are pushing our forces back on all fronts. It is only a matter of time before they reach our village. Another councilman, from the civilian branch, then spoke, fear evident in his voice. Kamikage-sama, we must surrender. Our women and children should not have to suffer because of our enemies' bloodlust and power hunger. But a surrender will only mean that we'll be included on one of the attacker's nations, and we all know that isn't an option with our way of life. Besides, that's only the best scenario. Worst case is we are totally annihilated and our techniques bastardized for more killing and suffering. That is unacceptable, said another of the ninja generals. His composure was calm, but he was worried as well inside. Another civilian councilman then said, that may be, but the book of the One Spirit clearly states that human life is sacred and our choices must always reflect that. True, it also states that two of our utmost responsibilities is our use of our techniques and our efforts to keep them within our clans alone. We cannot allow any other clan outside of our village, let alone a nation, get their hands on our techniques as they are sacred and used only for justice and honor. If they were to fall into enemy hands, they'd be used for merciless killing and other horrible causes. We cannot fail the One Spirit in this. The first general spoke calm yet firmly. Kamikage-sama, what should we do? All faces turned toward the white and dark gray-robed man, his face obscured by his white and purple kage hat. He sat there in silence for a minute, his subjects allowing him to think in peace. My fellow ninja, esteemed councilman, the kage began. Everyone already felt the severity in the decision that was to follow. It is with a heavy heart that I must order you all to abandon the village. Everyone gathered began to either whisper or talk worriedly with one another. Silence, the kage said firmly. The desired result was immediate. The civilian council is correct that lives are sacred and that our women and children shouldn't have to suffer. However, they are part of our clans and thus they too cannot fall into enemy hands. That is, unless all scrolls and other things pertaining our techniques and way of life is destroyed and their minds wiped of the same. Then they, along with their male family members, are free to choose to go where they please in this world. Kamikage-sama, I am not done! The Kage shouted, his sorrow evident. But our way of life must be preserved at all costs. Therefore, we have to have some ninja clans escape with their scrolls and other belongings and continue our way of life, as a shattered nation across the world. A nation that is unified only through our faith, our techniques, and through our clans. The Kage let it sink, the silence deafening, before finishing. In order to keep our faith alive, not to mention our bonds and techniques, we will have a meeting of the clans in one of the neutral nations, whichever that may be at the time. This meeting will be once every decade, with today as the day of gathering. Not only that, but today will also be remembered each year, to keep us together and alive as a nation. Make no mistake, ladies and gentlemen, we will always be a nation. We will not cease to exist just because we've lost our current homes. One day we will have a home once again. One day we will not be wandering ninjas, and one day our way of life shall be spread until finally this world will know true peace. Everyone gathered gave a somber nod in agreement. Then the only female ninja general spoke up. How will we gather everyone for the decade meeting, Kamikage-sama? I too will go and be a ninja without a land. I will always carry our insignia, the shining book, with me. My decree is that every clan head will carry this along with their clan insignia, with their clan members only carrying the clan insignia. This is how we will know each other. When the time for the meeting comes, then head for the capital of the neutral country. We will find one another there. If more than one neutral country exists, then we shall pray for guidance. As it is written, when you ask him for guidance, it will be given. Finally, when the time comes for the next Kamikage, the one spirit will call and gather all clan heads to my location. It will be decided then and there. The Kamikage then rose to his feet. All of the council followed. All right. Ninja generals, who among you will volunteer for be the wandering ninjas? All ninja generals, who are also all of the clan heads, came forth. The Kage gave a big proud smile. I had no doubt my faith in you was well placed. It gives my heart great joy to see all of you confirm it in this way. Now your orders are clear. Gather all your clan scrolls and other technique-related objects, and leave the village with your clans. But make sure that wherever you intend to go you are spread out and in civilian disguises. Don't travel in groups, as they will attract attention. At the most, travel in pairs and then regroup as a clan in the nearest neutral village of your choosing. From there you will plan your next move as you see fit, provided it follows our way of life. Who will you accompany, Kamikage-sama? The first general spoke. I will travel alone. I will seal all that is mine in scrolls, and I will keep them secret. When it's time, I will give those scrolls to the next Kamikage. Remember, wealth is not as important as the other things, but money is still important, so make sure at least a portion of your wealth is sealed so you can manage your life on the road. You can make a living as hired workers, bounty hunters, and traveling merchants or traveling craftsmen. Mercenaries is a forbidden practice. When you fight, remember, should you work with other shinobi, refrain as much as possible from using clan or village-specific jutsus, techniques. Should you need to, make sure to not agree to teach them. The only exception is if the ninja wishes to become one of us, but that has to be ascertained to be a genuine wish first. The one spirit will guide you in this. Any questions? The female ninja spoke. Kamikage-sama, if someone asks where we come from, what do we answer? We may have once been of the spirit country, and the village hidden in the book, but we will from this day be a shattered nation, a splintered country. We were once a living village, we seem now like a ghost of our former selves. From this day forth until our reformation as a country, we will be the village hidden in the shadows located in Ghost Country. I will no longer be the Kamikage. I will now be called Yokai-kage or Ghost Shadow, and everyone after me until our reformation. He then put his hands on a shoulder of his closest generals and looked at each and every one. This will be our greatest test of faith and our greatest strife. But if we stay the course, then as it is written, we shall reap the rewards accordingly. He said with a sad smile, which each returned. May the one spirit stay with us. He then shouted. May he steer us as we journey. They responded. May he keep us strong. He continued. May he bless us with growth. They responded. And may his goals be achieved. He finished. And we be part of his divine village. They finished. Move out. And that's how the country known as Spirit Country became the people without one, the Ghost Country. When asked, they answered that they hail from the village hidden in the shadows. Most of the time the people they dealt with accepted it, as they aren't that well versed in other countries and villages in the first place. Sometimes when dealt with more knowledgeable people, they invoke their right as shinobi to not divulge more information, which also worked. But when dealing with neutral shinobi, they had to be even more secretive, and refuse altogether where they came from. Any conflicts resulted either in the enemy barely winning and not gaining their knowledge through post-mortem self-cremation, a unique technique to them, or no witnesses. Right after the escape, the hostile countries thought they had utterly destroyed their little foes, which were mainly an obstacle to reach their true enemy, each other. It helped that the country became a desolate place with nothing but ruins and corpses of shinobi and kunoichi from each country. The dead shinobi that came from hidden the book village had died, giving their fellow clansmen and villagers time to prepare for and perform their escape. Their names and sacrifice had been added to the Book of the Fallen, which is about remembering and honoring the fallen's sacrifice and courage. Now, centuries has come and gone and 3 major wars have erupted and ended. The world is rather peaceful and stable for the time being, but tensions and grudges still linger between countries. Since some time, titanic creatures of pure chakra emerged. They are referred to as tailed beasts or bijou. Each beast has different amounts of tails as well as other characteristics. From 1 tailed to 9 tails, and each seem to adhere to a specific element or concept. These powerful creatures, rumored to have been related in some way to a 10-tailed beast of legend, have rampaged across each nation's lands. The kages of each nation came up with a solution: to seal away the beasts in human bodies to contain their otherwise unstoppable power. The only way this would work is if done with a newborn child whose chakra network hasn't developed yet. One such child was Naruto Uzumaki. His life had just begun, and he was heading for an agonizing existence. 10th of October, 6 AK, after Kyubi attack, dusk at Konoha. A young blonde boy was running through the streets of Konoha. He had a look of dread on his face as he ran as fast as his kid legs could carry him. He turned a corner, and a few seconds later a mob of angry civilians sporting different blunt weapons and tools as well as torches. "Get that demon brat!" one of them screamed. "He'll pay for attacking our village!" Came another voice. "I think he went this way," another shouted. They continued their pursuit of the poor child well into the late evening, when everything went almost completely dark. "Why is everyone after me? It's always the worst today of all days. Why do they call me demon brat? I'm just a normal kid for Kami's sake," the terrified kid shouted in his mind. Fortunately for him, he's used somewhat to being chased by both civilians and ninja alike, whether it be out of pure spite or because of a prank he loves oh so very much to perform. So he knows Konoha, or the village hidden in the leaves, in Fire Country, like the back of his hand. Unfortunately, due to some reconstruction, one of his escape routes has been cut off and he found himself in a dead end. Hiding behind a dumpster, he hoped no one would follow him into the alley. This hope would be in vain, however, as one in the mob suggested to look in said alley for him. It didn't take long for them to locate him. "Aha! Found you at last, 9 tails," one said with fury. "Be quiet. We're not to speak of that in front of him," another said, fearing the death penalty that the Hokage, Fire Shadow, had decreed about speaking of the 9-tailed fox and the attack it made 6 years ago, especially in front of this kid. "Well, Naruto, any last words before we give you your just punishment?" one said with pure hatred. "Punishment for what? What have I done that is so horrible to any of you? I admit I pulled pranks, but I don't deserve this," Naruto tearfully exclaimed in a mix of anger and fear. "We aren't allowed to speak of it, especially to you. But that doesn't matter, it just confirms your guilt, brat." "No! I won't accept your punishment without knowing what I've done," Naruto screamed in defiance. "Ha! Trying to sound like a victim? We are the victims here, demon child. And now vengeance for our killed family members will be ours." "What? Dead family members? What are you talking about?" Naruto said with much confusion. "Enough. Everyone take turns beating him." "I got dibs," said a man and took steps towards Naruto, a torch and a club in his hands. Naruto received a beating from the man and a couple of light burns from the torch. His screams could be heard far from where they were. When the man was finished, he motioned for the next one to do the same. "What's going on here?" an angry voice shouted into the area. A man had appeared behind the mob in the alley. He was wearing dark clothing without any sort of markings or letter found usually with civilian clothing. Whether it was black or dark blue or something akin to those wasn't easy to tell because of the lack of light. He had a sword of some kind strapped on his back. It looked like a katana from where Naruto was lying on the ground. His face was obscured because he was facing towards the ground partially, making the light fall on his forehead but shadowed the rest of his visage. This, along with his voice, clearly indicated he was upset about what was transpiring. "What's it look like? We're giving the demon brat justice. Why don't you join us?" the man closest to the newcomer gleefully stated. "Justice? Justice? What in Kami's name is just about beating and harming a child no older than 8? The shouted with fury. "What? Are you a demon lover or something?" someone said with obvious mockery. "Explain yourself," the stranger demanded. Killing intent started to build up in the area, emanating from the stranger. "Oh, you must be new here. This kid." "Quiet. You know we can't speak of it. Or else we die." At this the stranger stated in a very cold voice. "So you are saying you cannot tell me the reason because you'd die?" "Why yes, the Hokage has decreed," someone began. "Then I'm afraid you're out of luck. Because I will ask once again why you are doing this. Should you choose not to answer, none of you will leave here with the ability to breathe. Answer me and I'll just break every bone in your body. Either way, this is going to end. Right now," the stranger stated, his voice quite literally freezing the people's blood. All the while putting on a ninja mask covering all but his eyes. Then began to take steps towards them, slowly. "Wa?" Naruto said quietly in disbelief. He couldn't quite grasp that this stranger was going out of his way to help him. Not that he wasn't appreciating it, oh no. He was overjoyed, behind his tears. "We want to disobey the Hokage. Such loyalty. I suppose there's a sliver of honor in that. But I refuse to accept the thought of you following a kage that would persecute innocent children. The stranger said, still walking. And no, he hasn't said or done anything of the sort. We're doing this on our own accord. The killing intent from the stranger now rose rapidly. The promise of agony was almost tangible. Everyone, save Naruto, started to sweat profusely. I think I will have a word or two with this kage of yours regarding your monstrous behavior towards this boy. Last chance, tell me why? It's not like he doesn't deserve it. After all, he's quiet. One of the others said. Oh no, please do go on. The stranger said coldly, with a menacing grin hidden behind his mask. He's the demon child, the one the Yondaime Hokage, the fourth Hokage, sealed the nine-tailed fox beast before it could utterly destroy the village. The man finished. The stranger stopped, not averting his hard gaze on the mob. So, he's a Jinchuriki. That's right. We may be forbidden to talk about it in front of the boy, but it won't matter now since he's gonna die here and now anyway. The leader of the mob said, stepping forward. Nah. The stranger held up his finger. I don't think so. Then, his killing intent went off the scale, and the mob saw a brief glowing of pure white coming from his eyes. Despite the intimidating display, the bravest, or rather stupidest of the lot said, Oh, like you can stop us all? For one, we're civilians and a ninja of the village attacking a civilian is a serious offense. 2, we outnumber you vastly. The leader said. The stranger gave his reply, unfazed, while slowly pulling his katana. 1, I'm not a ninja from this village. 2, your numbers do not matter. And 3, defending a boy from malicious adults is never an offense. Your funeral, come on, let's get this guy. The mob started walking towards the ninja, some with hesitant steps, some with more confidence. The ninja was not in the least intimidated. He raised his free hand to his chest, forming a one-hand seal. It extended the index and ring finger while the remaining were clutched, pointing towards his heart. Ghost style, haunting hunt, he said. Before the eyes of the mob, the ninja faded from sight, and the area was filled with a sound. It sounded like someone exhaling loudly and slowly. Everyone was looking around for the ninja, scared as hell. Suddenly one of the mob gasped and acted like he was in a stranglehold, then he suddenly screamed and faded from view much like the ninja. Right after he was completely gone, another from the mob screamed and fell with a katana slash wound across the back of his legs. More and more of the mob fell and or disappeared, and panic was very soon upon the remaining ones. We have to get out of here. Kami, help us. One screamed in utter fear. Kami won't help you monsters, he's the one that gave me the permission to exact your punishment. And for your information, you're not going anywhere until I've performed said duty. The ninja's eerie voice came from everywhere. Naruto watched as every single member of the mob fell over from an invisible barrier. The prankster in him had to laugh at the display. But he knew what was going to happen next. They would all be severely injured or killed very soon. Despite what they did to him, he didn't want that to happen. He was now partially aware of the reason they seemed to hate him for. He didn't understand. All he knew is that he was something special and people hated him for that. He needed to know more. But for now, he didn't want the people hurt anymore. Stop! Shinobi-san, please stop! Came the shout of Naruto. Everyone was still in a panic, but the violence didn't stop. Stop! Naruto now screamed. This caught the attention of the mob and the killing stopped. Shinobi-san! Please don't hurt them anymore. He pleaded with the unseeing shinobi. You're asking me to halt my punishment on your tormentors, boy? Came the shinobi's voice from everywhere. Yes, what they did was wrong, but they seem to have some reason for it. I need to know more, but for right now I forgive them. Please let them go. The mob looked at the boy in absolute shock and confusion. Here they were to hurt him and even kill him, yet the boy had forgiven them and pleaded with their attacker to let them go. Some began to rethink their actions and attitude there, and then while some more stubborn ones started to wonder what the boy's angle was. They don't deserve to be forgiven, not in my eyes at least. Their sin is great. It's not up to you to forgive here, it's up to me. Everyone deserves at least a second chance. Naruto replied, looking around. There was silence for a moment. The mob clearly feeling their lives hanging in the balance. Finally the shinobi said, You are fortunate to have such a forgiving child in your village. If only he didn't have a reason to forgive such a grave transgression. The emphasis on grave was ghastly. You may leave. Pray that Kami forgives you, for I will not until I see you change your ways. At that the ones he had removed from the group through fading appeared in midair and fell a couple of feet to the ground. The mob picked them up and stretched their arms to check if the barrier was gone. After confirming it was, they ran out of the alley. Once they were gone, the shinobi appeared out of thin air in front of Naruto. You have a big heart, boy. What's your name? He spoke kindly. And Naruto Uzumaki. He answered, still shivering from all the recent events. You have nothing to fear from me, Naruto. You're safe now. He paused in thought. You may call me Yokai Kage, G-Ghost Shadow? Are you a Kage? To the first one, that's right. The second, I can't say what village I'm from, much less if I'm that village's Kage. Of course that's not my real name but a code name. For reasons I can't tell you about, I can't reveal my real name. I understand, you are a ninja after all, you have to be secretive. Naruto said, Hee, you're right. Now, where do you live, Naruto? I'll make sure you'll get home safe. Naruto gave a somber chuckle. That's ironic, I'm not really safe there either. This really angered Yokai even more, but he didn't let it show to the already shaken boy. All the same, I'll take you there. After a small while of walking, they arrived at Naruto's dump of an apartment. After seeing the poor state of his home as well as the hateful graffiti and burn marks from previous attempts to torch his home, his anger turned into pure wrath, and he now really wanted to talk with this Hokage about his Jinchuriki. My boy, how can you stand living in this place? Yokai asked. My dream is to become Hokage. Anyone who had become one had to work hard, beat bad odds, and endure much pain. A Kage's duty is to protect those dear to him or her, which from what I hear from the Hokage himself is the entire village. That's why I can stand it, because if I can stand all this crap already, then I'm well on my way on my journey to become the Hokage. Yokai raised his brows at this. That's an admirable dream, Naruto. How many loved ones do you have right now? Naruto answered with a grin. I have Aji-san, he's the Hokage. You refer to your Hokage as Aji-san? Yokai asked dumbfounded. Yeah, he's been like a grandfather to me from the start. He's taken care of me the best he can, considering he's a busy old man, getting me this apartment, money for food, and helping me get clothes from shops that otherwise would throw me out, refusing me to buy anything at all. Yokai was astounded. He thought at first the Hokage had silently approved of the beatings, but it seems he has been his ally all along. This soothed his anger greatly, but he still was upset that the boy didn't get more help, or the fact he didn't do anything about the civilians' view on him. I see, so who else is there? Well, there's old man Tucci and his daughter Ayam, who run the best ramen stand anywhere, Ichiraku Ramen. They've treated me very kindly, and sometimes when I'm in a big pinch they even treat me to a free ramen to help out. He's like an uncle to me, and Ayam's like a big sister. That's good. Who else? Now Naruto took a sorrowful look. There is no one else. Yokai felt great sympathy for the big-hearted boy in front of him. If there was anyone he's ever met who he felt didn't deserve anything bad in his life, it was Naruto. Despite all the hatred, beatings, mistreatment, and persecutions, and the few allies and friends he has, he seems to still make it with a grin and with hope for the future. It was then that Yokai made a decision. Naruto, you have another friend. Who? Yokai chuckled and gave him a kind look. Why you? It's a rare thing for me to find a boy with such a stout heart and kind soul as you. It would be my honor, Naruto, to be considered one of your friends, he said sincerely. Naruto looked at Yokai. Yokai could see the gratefulness in his blue, pained eyes, which were starting to moisten. He couldn't finish. Instead, he enveloped Yokai in a bear hug, for a kid anyway. After a few moments of sobbing, he finally could speak. Thank you so much. I'm glad to have another friend. Yokai couldn't help but shed a tear himself. I'm glad. Now, Naruto, you should get to bed. Wait, will you still be around tomorrow? Yes, I will be around for the time being. So I will see you tomorrow. Naruto gave a huge grin and a big, brief hug before running off to prepare for bed. Yokai smiled at the boy before he shined away to the outside. He then made his way to the Hokage Tower, which he's been rather late getting to since his arrival because of the incident. The Hokage sat in his chair, finishing some paperwork to lighten tomorrow's load while waiting for the guest he expected. The guest was late, and he was past beyond the limit of fashionably late too. Sarutobi, which was the name of the Hokage, was about to call his ANBU and have them find him when his secretary announced his arrival. Hokage-sama, your guest has arrived. Very well, send him in, please. Yokai entered, not wearing his mask anymore. With enough light now present, one could see that he was a young man in his mid-20s, had chestnut brown hair less than an inch long and in a rather disorderly state, most likely from the ruckus earlier. He also had a patch of short beard on his chin and a mustache cut short right above his upper lip. His eyes, which matched his hair's color, at the moment had a serious look in them rather than the pleasant greeting the Hokage expected from an emissary, which usually meant either ass-kissing or genuine wishes for mutual agreements. His body was well built but not to any extremes like one would expect from Guy's training regiment. Most likely it meant that his preferred style was a well-balanced mix of nimbleness and strength. The clothes were in fact marine blue all over and not dissimilar to ANBU clothing in appearance, only they sported a more complete body covering. As he was right then, only his head was visible as he wore gloves. His katana was removed by security for obvious reasons and a temporary chakra suppression seal was placed on his neck to reduce it to only necessary levels. Ah, greetings. I'm Hiruzen Sarutobi, Hokage of Kanahigakure, village hidden in the leaves. Sarutobi stood and offered his hand. Yokai merely nodded and said, Greetings, Hokage-sama. I'm Yokai. Disappointed and curious about the lack of courtesy, Sarutobi removed his hand and sat down. A pleasure, though I am concerned about the somber mood you appear to be in, Yokai-san. May I ask what is troubling you? Hokage asked sincerely. Yokai decided to give the Hokage a chance and said, Very well, I am concerned about the way your citizens behave themselves. Oh? And what have they done that has disturbed you? Yokai looked around briefly. In the blink of an eye he had made a few rapid hand seals, uttering, spirit style, liberation. The suppression seal vanished. Like a bolt of lightning he flew past the Hokage and performed a sound and entrance stealing jutsu. Finally he put a hand over the Hokage's mouth. The Hokage had only time to be surprised. He was about to call his A and B guards, but the hand stopped him. Be at ease, Hokage-sama. I will not hurt you or do anything else with ill intent. I merely do not wish to be interrupted in any way with what I'm about to discuss with you. Yokai stated reassuringly yet firmly. The Hokage calmed down at this but was understandably not fully relaxed. As you wish. But you could have simply asked me for that, and it would have been done. My apologies, Hokage-sama. But seals can be circumvented by those who are familiar with them. Thus I preferred my own. Besides that, I need to be at my full power. What for? What is this all about? The Hokage calmly said. Yokai removed his grip on Sarutobi and walked back around the table to face the Kage. I cannot say why I need to be at full power, but look at it this way. I won't make any malicious attempts of any kind, so it will be something of a show of good faith. As to your second question, Yokai went on to explain what he walked into and everything that had occurred till the point he left Naruto to meet with Sarutobi. At first I admit I was furious at your citizens and by extension yourself. After Naruto pleaded with me to not go through with my bringing just punishment to those monsters, I had a talk with him. Among other things he said, he spoke highly of you. He seems to hold you in such high regard and goes so far as to refer to you as his unofficial grandfather. That is why I'm not as furious anymore with you. But I still am angry that you allow such things to happen to that kind-hearted boy, especially since you two seem to be so close. Sarutobi sat and listened intently through it all, and when Yokai was finally finished he laid back in his chair, sighed and lighted his pipe. After taking a couple of puffs he said, I'm glad to hear Naruto's found a friend in you, Yokai-san. Though I'm not surprised he did, since I recognize his ability to befriend anyone that either doesn't know of his condition or can see past it, even at such a young age. Sarutobi took another puff, then continued, I'm also glad you came to his defense, especially since it looked like he was about to get killed by the mob this time. You have my personal gratitude. Yokai nodded. Sarutobi resumed once more, that said, I am, as Hokage, upset at your attacking my citizens. Yokai stood up from the guest chair he had sat on. How can you still care about such monsters' well-being? They have no excuse. He was interrupted by the Hokage lifting his hand to silence him, which he had the respect to comply with. It brings so much paperwork when that happens. Please refrain from killing citizens in the future, the Hokage said with a certain glint in the eye. The two looked at one another until Yokai burst out laughing. Ha ha! You are an amusing one, Sarutobi-sama, if I may call you that? Sarutobi nodded, smiling. It's alright. Truth be told, I would have done the same thing, the difference being I can do that as the Hokage because I would have just reason. You as a guest to our village don't have such privilege, no matter how justified the action was, sadly. Well, don't worry. I didn't actually kill anyone. I consider life to be sacred, even such garbage. My intention was to scare the living daylights out of them along with actual pain to underline my point. The Hokage then unexpectedly slammed his forehead on the desk and groaned quite loudly. What? What's the matter, Sarutobi-sama? You did the right thing, Yokai. Unfortunately, the right thing means almost double the paperwork for me tomorrow, as the survivors' reports and complaints besides the council papers will try to push me into dealing with Naruto. He then regained his composure. Of course, that won't happen. I'll die before I deal with him. Yokai had to grin at the Hokage and his antics. He definitely liked this old man. That's good to hear, Sarutobi-sama. Now, if you don't mind telling me more about Naruto and his condition? Sarutobi proceeded to tell about how Naruto as an infant was chosen to hold the Kyuubi and how the fourth Hokage, Minato Namikaze, died in the process, hoping that the village would consider Naruto a hero for his sacrifice, especially since it was forced upon him. My Kami. If that's the case, why do the villagers hate him so? Simply put, they are victims of the Kyuubi's attack 6 years ago. They either lost family members and or friends, or they were injured beyond our healing abilities, losing property and belongings. All adults know of the fact of the Kyuubi being sealed in him, but their grief and consequently their rage towards the demon blinds them to see the difference between its jailer and itself. I see. I understand them more, but being an outside observer helps me see the truth. Now I'm glad I didn't kill them. While still a horrible transgression, they aren't the completely evil people as I previously thought. Indeed. But your concern about the boy needing more protection is absolutely correct. However, as Hokage I have to deal not only with generic village business. I also have to hold off the council. They want his blood as much as the common civilian does, if not more. One in particular. He trailed off into a mumble. Yokai wisely decided that it wasn't something he should pursue. I am still curious as to why the fourth chose him. How could he have someone else's child hold the demon? As the Hokage at the time, how could he ask someone else to do something he couldn't? Sarutobi gave him a brief but intense look, then said, That is something I cannot share with you. I cannot even share it with Naruto. Not yet anyway. Yokai didn't need more than that to put 2 and 2 together. He's the son of the fourth, isn't he? He exclaimed. The Hokage immediately sprung to his feet and gazed hard at Yokai, momentarily stunning him. That is a secret big enough to warrant an execution just for knowing. Here and now, Yokai-san, you will give me a reason not to follow through with just that, Sarutobi demanded. Yokai, while still slightly stunned, nodded with understanding. You have my solemn vow as a shinobi and a man of kami that I won't divulge anything about this matter without your explicit permission. Looking at yokai intently, Sarutobi could see the sincerity in his gaze. Years of experience, not to mention training in lie detection, allowed him to see the truth in the eyes of the person he was talking with. Realizing this, he finally relaxed. Very good, I will trust you. I suppose you're curious as to why it is such a secret? To which yokai nodded. This village has many enemies, most of them bear a grudge against Namikaze in particular. His defense of our nation earned him the nickname the Yellow Flash from both his allies and his enemies. I won't tell you anything about that except that he managed to kill many enemies in no more than a few blinks of an eye. Because of this, if it was known that Naruto is the son of Minato and heir to the Namikaze clan, they would waste no time or resources to get to him in any way possible. Not only that, Minato himself decreed before his death that Naruto should only learn specific pieces of the whole story at certain milestones in his life: his graduation from the academy, promotion to Chunin, and the day he turns 18. He stated the reason being both what I said before and his fear that Naruto wouldn't be able to handle that much information all at once and too early, thus risking growing up the wrong way and with the wrong attitude. Yokai could see the merit those points had. His heart went out to the boy and even more was convinced that his next course of action was the right one. Hokage-sama, I formally request to take Naruto with me and train him in my people's way, provided he himself agrees. Sarutobi was stunned, to say the least. He didn't expect this coming from a stranger who just arrived in a diplomatic mission. Although, he had to admit he already liked the man considerably, and had divulged incredibly sensitive information to him. Still, was it wise to hand him over? He needed to know more first. I am surprised, no, utterly stunned by this request, yokai-san. You feel this strongly for the boy? Yes, Sarutobi-sama. My short time with the boy has impacted me greatly and I wish to save him from this, pardon the expression, hellhole and give him the training he needs to evolve into an awesome shinobi. I promise to return here when the academy starts so he can learn all that I cannot teach him, such as village-specific teachings. I am intrigued, but you must understand that we've just met, yokai-san. I cannot in good consciousness hand him over to you without knowing you better. That is all right, Sarutobi-sama. I am prepared to give sensitive information about my village as a show of good faith in addition to return the gesture of letting me know Naruto's secrets. Yokai then went on to tell the Hokage about his people's history, without revealing anything too specific about their jutsus and teachings. Mostly it was about what their jutsus entail in general and their way of life and beliefs. Sarutobi was dumbfounded to learn all of this. He remembers several small notes in the history books about annihilated smaller countries and villages. But he didn't ever expect to encounter the remnant of such an old society. And not only that but to learn the extent to how they've survived. When he learned that an emissary from a previously unknown village asterisk was coming to speak with him, he didn't have the slightest hint towards anything out of the ordinary. I see. That is quite some tale you've just told me, yokai-san. I'd say it more than makes up for the one I've told you about Uzumaki Naruto, he said, smiling somberly. I'd very much like to meet your Kage and discuss diplomatic matters more. What would your intentions be? Yokai asked firmly. To build friendly relations, of course. Is that a problem? The Hokage asked honestly. Not in itself, perhaps. But our way of life and teachings are not in any way for conquest through might, but spreading of true peace and might of defense. Thus if we build friendly relations we will not go with you to war, unless there is a very good reason we can agree to. At the same time, should you be invaded ruthlessly we would have a much easier time coming to your aid, provided Konoha's government stays pure as I've so far seen from your rule. Sarutobi nodded. Although I have to disagree, I don't think Konoha is led by purity. There's much bitterness in the village and the council is scheming in the dark, which is why I think that you're doing a good job of leading the village by example, despite the slip-ups with Naruto. What do you mean? Despite all the bitterness and the fact you have a scheming council, which frankly is found everywhere, that much I can tell you with certainty, you still have led Konoha in its rebuilding since its tragic casualties in the wars and the Kyuubi incident. Not only has the village prospered, but you've kept those that oppose you at bay and adamantly led by example, that being about love, compassion and the will to protect. How can you claim this, after what you've seen today? Sarutobi asked, shocked. Today's incident was a chance encounter. Other times I've heard the reports from our spies. The Hokage visibly tensed at this. Yokai noticed and raised his hand in a reassuring manner. Relax, they merely wanted to ascertain your standing in things. The people are quite content and happy most of the time, and the shinobi have what you call the will of fire, the will to protect those dear to them. A concept we can agree with. I'm flattered by your praise. But I still don't understand. Only a Kage can see reports of those magnitudes and make the claims you're making. Yokai smiled and stood up. Allow me to reveal my full code name. Yokai Kage, Ghost Shadow. One day maybe we'll perhaps know each other with our full names. Hokage Dano? He extended his hand to Sarutobi. A shaken Sarutobi stood slowly and gave his hand. Now, Sarutobi Dano. What say we discuss the matters I really came here for, huh? Yokai said, smirking. The Hokage chuckled and nodded. They sat down and discussed the matter they were intended to discuss from the start. Some new things were added in light of what has transpired. Among them the fact that yokai would ask Naruto to travel with him and be trained as a ghost shinobi. This happens once in a great while, as sometimes smaller villages grow in size until finally receiving recognition from the rest of the world as being a village of importance. When this status is achieved, they are allowed to apply for independence or join with a bigger country as minor to major village as per the international treaty after the First Great Shinobi War. Naruto was still in bed as the sun began to rise. He had no reason to get up early in the morning, none whatsoever. So he was used to sleeping in and only getting up late in the morning to eat breakfast and do whatever comes to mind after that, usually entailing pranks or attempting to find friends. When he finally did arouse from his slumber around 10:20, he found he had reason to be chipper. He'd found a friend in an awesome shinobi yesterday. While eating his instant ramen breakfast, he decided to look for him and get to know him better. As it turned out, he didn't have to, for when he was putting his dishes away for later scrubbing, Yokai made himself known. "Hey Naruto. How are you this morning? Feeling better?" Yokai greeted cheerfully from the window. Naruto jumped, surprised, but then a wide grin spread across his face. "Hey Yokai-san. Yeah, I'm good. I kinda always had the ability to heal quick from any injury. I dunno why though." Naruto shrugged at his explanation. "I was right. The kid's mind must have been all over the place yesterday cause of the mob fight. Not to mention that things such as the QB are hard to grasp for a 6-year-old, it's no real wonder he doesn't remember it all. I suppose it's for the best then, especially with what Sarutobi Dano and I agreed on last night." Yokai thought somberly. Flashback no jutsu. "Oh Kami-sama. I almost forgot to ask. Yokai Dano, did what the mob said to you about Naruto happen in front of him?" Sarutobi asked, very concerned. "Yes, Hokage Dano. He heard every word of it. Although if my suspicion is right, the fact he's a 6-year-old combined with the tumultuous events around him at the time, I doubt he had the presence of mind to process all of that." Yokai said reassuringly. Perhaps. But I'd have you find out how much he knows next time you speak with him, gently of course so he doesn't think too much about it. If he still doesn't comprehend it, then it's better if it stays that way, Yokai Dano. He will find out later in his life, one way or another, but in his younger years he must not find out. The Hokage stated firmly. "I understand, I won't speak of it in front of him. Although, in all honesty Sarutobi Dano, he has the right to know, just as much as it is his right to find out about his heritage. Therefore I must ask if during the final weeks before returning him for his academy start, if it is alright to let him know." Sarutobi looked down at his desk deep in thought. What Yokai had said was of course right, he did have the right to know. The question is, when was it time for him to learn? The fourth did say that he was to learn of his heritage, and while not stating such, it meant that, by extension, he'd learn of his prisoner within him. There was no way he would not learn of the QB's attack and the 4Th's defeat of the beast during his academy years. That said, there was nothing to say that he couldn't learn of the QB inside of him earlier than the heritage facts. It might be helpful in easing his mind and to grow as a shinobi. Then again, it might drive him insane, although, knowing Naruto, he had already endured so much pain and potentially mind-breaking events that he could handle it by the time Yokai wanted to tell him, especially since he will have been away from his tormentors enough to be more at ease. "You make a good point, Yokai Dano," the Hokage finally said. "However, instead of telling him somewhere out there, I'd be more at ease personally observing Naruto and how he handles himself during his academy years before I finally tell him. Not only that, but if he goes through the academy thinking he's more powerful than others because of his status as a Jinchuriki, it is bound to cause friction. Not that that isn't the truth, about him having more power, but I don't think I need to explain further, do I? When the time comes to tell him, I'd like it if you were there." "Me? Why?" "Because when he learns of it he will, with little doubt, remember the night you were there to save him, despite you knowing of his plight. It would be of great help to have more people around him that accept him for him and not care about his prisoner." "I see your point. Very well, I will not tell him. In hindsight, that duty has always been yours, Sarutobi Dano." Flashback no jutsu. Release. "Well, that's a good thing," Yokai said, grinning. "Tell me, Naruto. How badly do you want to become a shinobi?" "It's my dream. I can't think of a way to want it more." "What are you prepared to do?" Yokai asked seriously. "Whatever it takes, believe it," Naruto said, giving a confident grin along with a thumbs up. Yokai gave an approving nod. "Naruto, I'm going to make you an offer. Hopefully it's one you can't refuse, because I'd rather you accept it." "What is it, Yokai-san?" Naruto asked, curious. Yokai chuckled at the kid's apparent inability to follow this trail he verbally laid out. "I want to take you with me on my journeys, to train you in the ways of the ninja. It will give you a good head start when you start the academy when you come of age," Yokai said. Naruto blinked once, twice, then he grinned so widely he risked splitting his ears. A shout of joy resounded throughout the whole neighborhood. "Woohoo! I accept, Yokai-sensei. I want to learn what you have to teach me and become a shinobi," Naruto shouted very excitedly and happily. Yokai laughed heartily at the display of happiness. "I'm glad, Naruto, I truly am. Now then, I see no reason to linger any longer. Go on and pack, I'll wait here." Naruto was about to comply when he suddenly remembered Sarutobi. What about Aji-san? I can't leave without his permission, Naruto said, afraid his chance might be lost. Haha, don't worry. I've already talked with him, he's given me his permission. We both agree that it will only be good for you to leave this place and come back later when you're able to defend yourself, not to mention having that head start in the academy. Alright. I won't be long, sensei. Naruto ran into his bedroom to pack his essentials. As promised, he didn't take long. He came out with a rather stuffed backpack and wearing an orange jumpsuit ready to go. Alright, all set. Let's go, sensei, Naruto said, stomping excitedly. Yokai looked at his clothing and the stuffed bag. Naruto. What's with the flashy orange jumpsuit, and what have you stuffed your bag with? What do you mean? It's the only real clothes good for travel I was able to buy, besides I like the color orange. And I've packed all the instant ramen I can carry, should last me for a couple of months, he said. Yokai's eyebrow twitched. The Hokage did mention in passing about his addiction to ramen, but he didn't take it as anything serious. The reason that those were the only clothes he was allowed to buy was painfully obvious to the experienced ninja, to make him very visible for anyone who wanted to find him and harm him. Okay, first off, we're going to get you better clothes than that. As a shinobi, you have to wear clothes that are practical for tools and weapons as well as offering better concealment ability and perhaps even protection depending on the circumstance. But before you get too depressed, it's not your fault, I can tell. Those bigot shopkeepers did this to you, not yourself. Let me find good clothes for you before we go. Naruto nodded, smiling. Yokai continued, as for all the instant ramen, I want you to remove all of them. What? Naruto exclaimed with a hugely disappointed face. Except for a week's supply. Not more. And do ration them so they last longer. We won't be buying much of them afterwards. After all, you need to eat healthily to get stronger. Now while I go and get proper clothes for you, you get rid of those ramen and pack more necessary stuff. Clear? Naruto, while not too happy about the ramen, understood his reasoning. He gave a salute and went back to his bedroom, somewhat sulkily. Yokai chuckled as he went out the window. An hour later Naruto and Yokai were wandering a long road from Konoha. The goodbye from Sarutobi was heartfelt but brief as he had to get back to the blood-sucking council of civilians. So what's first, Yokai-sensei? Naruto asked excitedly. Easy, Naruto. We have years to train you, let's first get to the next village before we start. Can't we at least talk about what we're gonna be doing? I suppose we could. First we're gonna get your strength, endurance, nimbleness, and speed up so you're ready for anything the academy throws at you. Later on we'll work on a taijutsu that fits you as well as ninjutsu. Genjutsu is something we'll have to discover if you have an affinity for later on. Later on you will get the option to choose a weapon to fight with. Then there's the possibility of me teaching you some of my personal skills. Oh, like that ghost trick you did back in the alley? Ha ha ha, yes, like that. But it is much too early for us to delve deeper into that. Why? Frankly, because you're too young to grasp the concepts. Don't worry, we'll get to that in due time. We have enough to work with the other things. Okay. What did you mean with a taijutsu that fits me? Isn't taijutsu just kicking and punching your enemy to a pulp? Naruto asked, confused. Hehe. I don't blame you for not seeing the difference, you are after all only 6 years old. Yokai said kindly. Naruto thought, however, that the only 6 years old thing was getting old fast. Some taijutsu focuses on speed and evasion, while some focuses on sheer power and endurance. There are of course more variations, but those are the two most common disciplines. Can I learn to use combinations of those? I mean, if I could both be strong and fast, I would be hard to hit while hitting hard. There's logic in what you say, Naruto. But that's easier said than done. If you grow in strength, one usually loses nimbleness and speed. The same applies for the other way around. If you focus on nimbleness and speed, you don't really get strong. Only truly dedicated taijutsu students evolve their art into a fine balance of the two. The very same thing can be said about any other field of ninja skills. Naruto looked at his sensei strangely. Yokai looked back, confused. What is it, Naruto? Didn't you hear me back in my apartment, sensei? I'll do whatever it takes to become a great shinobi, Naruto said with gusto. Yokai looked at the blonde boy. He admired his spirit. He knew this journey and the training would be fruitful and interesting. Time, 10 AK. Location, Kanahigakure Ninja Academy, Classroom 1. Iruka Yumino sat at his desk going over the list of students he would be in charge of for the next 4 years. This class to be was really something. Many of the students are actually heirs to many of the shinobi clans in Konoha. First there's the most prominent one, Sasuke Uchiha. While not the heir since he's the youngest of 2 brothers, he's still something of a genius like his brother before him according to preliminary tests. He would hopefully make an outstanding shinobi. I just hope he isn't as gloomy as Itachi is, Iruka thought. Then there's Hinata Hyuga, heiress to the Hyuga main branch family. Tests indicate she's got skills but is a timid and shy girl. Learning this, Iruka hoped he would get the opportunity to help her get over this, or else she might fail as a shinobi, or worse die due to hesitation or lack of skill. I'll keep an eye on her and try to find a way to help her overcome that, Iruka decided, smiling. Next was the Inuzuka heir Kiba. His preliminaries showed to be the opposite of Hinata, confident of himself and hot-headed, borderline foolhardy. Still, he's also shown to be quite honorable in his own right. He's sure to make things interesting. Irika mused. From the Aburaim clan comes Shino. His tests show him to be a quiet person, mysterious, and some even call him creepy. Irika remembered that the Aburaim clan utilizes insects for their techniques, though he has yet to familiarize himself with any one of their clan. Now would be an excellent time to do just that. Irika observed. Then there's the sons and daughter of the famous Ino Shikicho trio, Ino Yamanaka, daughter of Inoichi Yamanaka. While this clan isn't as prominent as the other clans, its unique abilities make up for that. They possess the ability to possess others' minds and either control them or read their memories. Especially useful for interrogation or spying. Ino herself seems to only be able to do the body control aspect of their techniques, though Inoichi may teach her the other one during the academy period. Next was Shikamura Nara, heir to the Nara clan and his father's shadow possession jutsu, which allows them to control their own shadows and steer them. Once their shadows connect to other people's shadows, they can freeze them and to an extent control their movements. But that isn't really considered to be their main ability. No, the Nara males are known throughout Konoha for their immense intellect. Shikaku, his father, is always called to help with strategic and tactical planning as well as to solve mysteries, usually of the criminal kind. Shikamura has inherited his father's brain, the testers claim. Unfortunately, he has also inherited his father's infamous lazy disposition. I think he will be a handful. A passive handful, but a handful nonetheless. Irika sighed. The last of the trio is Chuji Akimichi, heir to the Akimichi clan, and their restaurants. Yes, the clan is famous for their food and their consumption of the same. In their defense, their girth is a part of their techniques, which involves bodily expansion and raw strength. Little can stand, much less stop, a direct hit from their massive limbs. According to the tester's observations, he eats snacks almost constantly. That could cause irritation with the other class members, not to mention myself. All due respect to their clan techniques, I can't allow snacking during class. Irika shuddered at the thought of constant munching while trying to speak about various subjects. Next to last was Sakura Haruno. This girl is not from a ninja clan, though her mother and late father are and were part of the civilian council respectively. Among the better people in it, I hear Irika recalled. According to tests, she has great book smarts. She may possess considerable knowledge for her age and an affinity for books, but knowledge alone isn't enough for a ninja. We'll see how she handles herself in other areas. Irika thought. Finally, Irika saw a note at the bottom. It mentions a late addition in the academy by the name of Naruto Uzumaki. No tests needed. What the hell? No test. Irika raised an eyebrow. It was signed by the Hokage himself. Well, if the Hokage says so. In terms of surprises, this kid might take the cake for that alone. I'm now very curious to see what this kid is about. He thought. He had just finished his thought when the door opened and students started to come in from the corridor. They were gathered outside for a welcome by the dean himself before the secretary guided each class to their classrooms. All right, everyone who are part of class 1, this is your stop. Came the voice of the secretary. All of the kids Irika read about, save Naruto, whom Irika didn't know wasn't among them yet, plus some other students from various civilian families came in and randomly took seats. Irika could already tell that the female half of the class had chosen their crush. This is a record for sure. They don't usually do that until after a year. Irika chuckled in his mind. Their eyes were drawn to the Uchiha. He either hasn't noticed their gazes or didn't let it affect him, Irika couldn't tell. He had to chuckle again at the irony. Hello, class. My name is Irika Yumino, and I will be your main teacher for the 4 years you will be spending in this academy. Before we go any further, let's go ahead and have our first roll call. He went on to check that all of the civilians' kids were there. It was common practice that civilians were checked first, followed by clans and council kids. Clan and council kids who attend the academy are expected to be there out of honor and prestige, so the kids themselves are much less expected to try to skip classes than regular civilians. As it turns out later, that presumption was oh so wrong in some cases. Aburaim Shino. Here, Akimichi Chuji. I'm Chu Fear. Yep, I have to stop that during class. Irika sighed inside. Haruno Sakura. Here, Hyuga Hinata. Oh, I'm here. I have to admit she's cute like that. Sadly, I have to try to work that out. Irika smiled at her. Inuzuka Kiba. Who? Yeah, I'm here alright. Nara Shikamaru. It's a drag, but I'm here too. He responded lazily. Damn it, Shikaku. He's certainly his father's son. Irika thought, annoyed with his attitude already. Uchiha Sasuke. Yeah, I'm here. Yamanaka Ino. Here, okay, well that should be all of you. Aren't you forgetting someone? Came a voice from everywhere in the classroom. Everyone were startled and looked around for the source. Who's there? Show yourself. Irika demanded, pulling out a kunai knife from his desk drawer. Just check the list again, you missed someone. The voice answered. It was then Irika remembered the note. Checking again, he read out loud. Alright. Uzumaki Naruto. Here, where here? Asked Irika. In reply, Naruto faded into view in front of his desk, facing him. He wore marine blue clothing, just like his sensei for 4 years, yokai. He wore a marine blue ninja mask, covering all but his cerulean blue eyes. He also had a wakizashi, a short sword, on his back. However, it was a wooden sword, a wakizashi baken, used for practice. Iruka, along with the class, were astounded at the impressive arrival. Iruka because he didn't recognize the technique and the fact he couldn't sense the student's presence. The others because, aside from the little clan-specific techniques taught to them and some simple taijutsu, knew next to nothing about anything shinobi-related. Yet here Naruto literally appeared out of thin air. They were all now immensely curious about this guy. Right here, Iruka-sensei. Naruto replied with an unseen grin, though everyone heard he wore one. Shaking off the surprise, Iruka greeted him. Hello, Naruto. How long have you been in here? Oh, since everyone walked in. I was in fact outside for the welcome by the dean too. Naruto said. Well, that is an impressive jutsu. What's it called? Iruka queried. It's called, but he stopped himself mid-sentence. Oops. I am sorry, sensei. But my other sensei, who taught me that jutsu, won't allow me to speak about it. You'll have to talk to him about it if you wish to know more. If it is a secret, why did you openly use it like this? Iruka asked, genuinely curious. Naruto approached Iruka and leaned into his ear. Sadly, it is a mix of a fear of mine and a possible necessity. Naruto whispered, somberly. What do you mean? Iruka said. Please, let's talk about that later. Naruto said normally. Very well, Naruto, take your seat. There should be 1 or 2 left. Iruka motioned. Naruto gave a slight bow and went to take a seat when Iruka said, Wait, we don't allow masks in class. Oh right, I kind of forgot I had it on still. Naruto chuckled sheepishly, rubbing the back of his head. He then removed it and revealed blonde, spiky hair and cheeks with what looked like scars resembling whiskers. After Iruka nodded, Naruto turned to the class and greeted them. Hi everyone, nice to meet y'all all. He said cheerfully. Everyone greeted in return, though some more quietly than others. They still were not quite over his entrance. Having seen his face, some girls found him to be quite cute. One in particular found him adorable, but Naruto didn't notice any of that. He went to a free seat next to Kiba and Shikamaru. Hey, how's it going? Naruto said to both. Hey, I'm having a troublesome day. Shikamaru replied. What's wrong? I'm here. Shikamaru sighed into his arms. Heh, well, things could be worse, couldn't it? Naruto tried to cheer him up. Maybe, he said, putting his chin on his arms. I'm Shikamaru. He introduced himself, giving a small smile. Yeah, I got that from the roll call. Pleased to meet you, Naruto said with a grin. He then turned to Kiba. And you're Kiba, right? That's me, dude. Hey, awesome entrance by the way. Kiba complimented with a grin of his own. Oh yeah, thanks. Sorry, but I can't tell much about it. Sensei kinda wants to keep it a secret. Naruto said, grinning back. Bummer, it looks like a handy jutsu. Hell, either myself or Akamaru here. He pointed at his puppy partner hanging from his jacket by the zipper. He gave a friendly bark. Could tell that you were here. What's so special about a wait? You can smell better than most, right? Naruto said. Sure can. We're from a clan that have a partnership with dogs and in some cases wolves. Kiba said proudly. Awesome. So can you talk with each other too? Yup, some of them can even speak our language. Though Akamaru has yet to learn that. Cool, could I learn to do speak dog? Naruto asked. Sorry, my man. It's a clan secret. Maybe if you earn the clan's trust you can learn it. Kiba said, shrugging. Before Naruto could continue the conversation, Iruka spoke up. He had to sort out his papers some before proceeding, deliberately giving the group some time to chat with one another to break the ice. Though most of the class were not speaking about one another, rather about the spectacular entrance of a certain blonde kid. Alright, settle down class. Once again welcome to the Ninja Academy. As you know, you will receive the basic education and training to achieve the rank of Genin during the course of 4 years. This first year we will focus on the history of the Leaf Village and the history of the elemental nations along with some physical and chakra exercises to prepare for the rigorous Tai Dash, Nin and Genjutsu lessons next year. Iruka said. Meanwhile, at the Hokage's office, Sarutobi was going over the never-ending paperwork. In his mind, paperwork is the toughest opponent he's ever faced and the only thing he truly dreads facing, which happens every single day. There has to be a way to make this easier to deal with. Sarutobi yelled in his mind while furiously puffing his pipe. A laugh shook him from his work frustration. What? Is something the matter, Sarutobi-dano? Yokai said, smirking. He knew perfectly well what was irking the Hokage. Oh, welcome back, Yokai-dano. Good to see you again. And to answer your question, yes? This never-ending struggle with paperwork is getting on my nerves is all. Yes, it is one of the most bitter of battles. One I'm glad to not have to do. Although the Yokages from the time when our village and country still was had found a way to aid them in this piqued the Hokage's interest. Hell, it skyrocketed it. What did they do? Tell me. I beg of you. The Hokage briefly considered going down on his hand and knees before thinking of his stature and how it would be improper. It was still very much tempting though. The answer is simple, quite elementary really. Yokai said, teasing the Hokage. Don't keep me in suspense, damn it. Sarutobi snarled. I'm surprised you haven't thought of it yourself already. Yokai said. He loved living dangerously sometimes. The Hokage leaped over the desk, blowing paperwork all across the room in the process, and grabbed Yokai by the collar. If you don't tell me this instant, Yokai Dano, there's going to be an incident, most likely of international proportions. Sarutobi growled, but his eyes spoke volumes of his desperation rather than any actual killing intent. Yokai couldn't hold it in any longer. He laughed heartily before finally revealing his secret. Sarutobi Dano. Have you ever thought of using clones? Yokai smirked. What are you talking about? Clones can't interact with anything unless they are. Sarutobi froze mid-sentence. Yokai looked at the old man's face. It went deathly pale from the realization, then blushed furiously as he undoubtedly was ashamed about not having thought about it before and finally sweating as he remembered who he was holding. That would work. Excellent suggestion, thank you. And I do apologize for my overreacting in your collar, Yokai Kijidano. He chuckled nervously while letting go of Yokai, then straightening and fixing the mess he made of his collar. Ha ha ha, think nothing of it, Hokage Dano. I sort of had it coming, he said reassuringly and grinning widely. I bet Naruto's personality has rubbed off on him a little. This would have definitely been something he would have done, not to mention that grin he now has. Sarutobi thought affectionately. Well, I'll start right now. Shadow Clone Jutsu. With that, a bunch of smoke puffs appeared, revealing 6 Sarutobi clones who immediately started on the paperwork. Now, while my clones get rid of this mess, why don't we go somewhere and have a chat about Naruto? Sounds good to me. Where will we go? Sarutobi smiled fondly to Ichiraku's. Since we're gonna talk about Naruto, it's only fitting that we do it in a place where they love him, not to mention having the best ramen in the elemental nations if you believe Naruto himself. At the ramen stand, Tucci and his daughter Ayam were busy with doing inventory. No customers usually comes between breakfast time and lunch, so they do it at this time each day. They were used to Naruto coming at this point since the odds of people bothering him were at the lowest at that time. However, being the unofficial surrogate family of Naruto, they very soon noticed his disappearance. They once briefly considered asking customers but thought better of it since Naruto is so hated and no one either cared or thought they were supporters of him, which was an unnecessary risk to their business when they could ask the Hokage, who did sometimes visit for dinner. After learning the reason behind Naruto's lack of visits, they were happy for him. But like any good family, they missed him and his cheerful attitude quite a lot. Today was no different. Dad? Ayam asked, her voice betraying her state of mind. Yes, my princess? Tucci answered, his own mind mimicking hers, though not as a parent. What do you think Naruto's up to? How's he doing? She asked, smiling a fond smile at remembering him. Knowing Naruto, he's probably giving his training his all and still finds the time to occasionally cause some pranks and other trouble for his sensei. Tucci laughed. Ayam followed suit. You're probably right on the money, Dad. But I was thinking, he's been gone for 4 years. According to what the Hokage said, he should be back any time now. Indeed, Ayam. He should be back soon. Tucci answered, smiling. Then a thought occurred to him. Wait a minute. What is it, Dad? Isn't the academy starting today? Tucci asked, his eyes widening a bit. Yes, I think so. Why? Ayam asked. But upon meeting her father's meaningful look, she caught on. He could be back today, attending the academy. She exclaimed happily. Yes, meaning we most likely will see him during his lunch break. Tucci said, grinning. You are quite right. He is indeed back and attending the academy. Came the familiar voice of the Hokage. They both turned and saw the Hokage with a marine blue wearing man with brown hair and brown eyes taking seats. Welcome, Hokage-sama. And who do I have to honor of serving besides yourself? Tucci inquired politely. The name's Yokai. You must be Tucci and Ayam. Yokai answered with a warm smile, remembering Naruto and Sarutobi mentioning this kind-hearted duo. Why, yes, we are indeed. We're honored you know of us mere ramen cooks. Tucci replied genuinely. There's nothing mere about a couple of people, no matter their standing or profession, helping out a child in need. Especially for as long as you two have. Yokai stated seriously. Ayam blushed. Why, thank you, Yokai-san, she said sheepishly. Her state and manner of reply wasn't lost to Sarutobi, who chuckled in his mind. Now then, I've just returned with Naruto and I am famished. Having Naruto tell me about how great this ramen you cook is, I have to give it a try. What's Naruto's favorite? Yokai said cheerfully. Miso pork ramen. The ramen makers said in unison. Ha! Miso pork ramen it is then. What will you be having, Hokage-sama? Yokai asked. He had to refer to Sarutobi as his title and in lord form to hide his own status as a Kage. It happens to be mine as well. Thanks in no small part to that little blonde bundle of energy introducing it to me. Sarutobi chuckled. 2 miso pork ramen coming right up. Tucci announced while heading back to his storage in the next room to get the necessities. So, how was Naruto's training? Ayam asked, very curious, though she was more than happy to just listen to this handsome man who apparently liked Naruto as much as she did. Indeed, Yokai-san. It is why we're here after all. The Hokage agreed. He too had to use the San honorific to hide his fellow Kage status. They both looked forward to the day when it can be revealed openly. Flashback no jutsu. Time, 6 AK, the night before Naruto's departure. Place, the Hokage's office. So, let's set Naruto aside for the moment, Yokai Dano. I would very much like to have our two people be friends and possibly allies. I think both our people will gain a lot from such a relationship. Sarutobi stated, formally but with a smile. Indeed? But as I said before, Hokage Dano, we won't be part of an offensive alliance unless it is for a reason we cannot disagree with. And will take quite the situation, I have to say. Yokai said firmly. You do not have to worry, this village don't seek conquest either. And any possible offensive move we make is either for self-preservation purposes or to aid allies in their own defense. And any successor I choose will be of the same mind and heart, and so will the successor they choose. Provided that the Hokage line isn't broken and someone else assumes the position through special means or by extraordinary circumstances, this will remain a constant, I assure you. Sarutobi said. Those are good arguments, Sarutobi Dano. And from what I've learned so far, you seem to be honest and a man of honor and dignity. I believe you. The village hidden in the shadows is prepared to accept trade agreements, and are willing to be of aid to you, still provided the reasons are acceptable to us. Yokai said, smiling. That is great to hear. But I have another proposition for you, Yokai Dano. Sarutobi said. What is it? How would you like to take residence in Fire Country? Yokai went pale. It would mean they had a place to live and not wander around anymore. Still, it wouldn't be their own country. Living in another people's village is not his idea of reformation either. He was at a loss as to what to do. Finally he said, Hokage Dano, that is a most gracious offer. But our goal is to have a country of our own. Not to impose on another country and live in their village. Yokai said, I know perfectly that living in our village is not possible for you. Frankly, it would take immense preparation and adjustment to make room for you here too, not to mention there will be problems with the council and a few certain individuals in particular. But my offer wasn't about you moving here, into our village. It was about taking residence in another area within our country. Sarutobi reassured. Still, it isn't going to be our own country, Sarutobi Dano. Yokai said somberly. I know, but Yokai Dano, you have to realize that there is, pardon the expression, no vacancy anywhere for a new country, much less a village. Should a country fall, no matter its size, another will immediately seize it as part of their own, too fast for you to react and make a claim to it. Even if you did claim it, I doubt any country would respect that and chase you out or destroy you, before you're ready to properly defend yourselves, to advance their own agenda. Sarutobi said somberly. Yokai nodded, agreeing with Sarutobi's assessment. He continued, but should you accept my proposal, you will be like a neighboring village, of next to equal power and importance. Any decisions of national or international proportions will include yourselves, since you will be like a second half of our own village. Also, since you will be such an important village, and by extension force, it would serve as a deterrent for corruption in my own village, since losing your support would greatly hamper our combined defense. I tell you this because despite the corrupt council and scheming individuals, I can vouch for them in one small way. They are doing it for the betterment of the village as they see it. Twisted, I know, but it's still the truth. Yokai didn't know what to say but listened intently. Sarutobi noticed and decided to let it sink in before he continued. Once your village is built and consequently is announced by myself, it will shake the very foundation of our society, but in a good way. Any scheming and corruption will be at the very least put on ice, as they will realize that their way of doing things would greatly risk losing this added support you would provide. Should they be so stupid as to proceed anyway, they'd not only lose your support, but also risking your intervention, whether it be in the National Council or in military. Finally, should our village fall for whatever reason and yours remain intact, you will from then on be the village hidden in the leaf, or as I suspect, change the name to the village hidden in the book, in Spirit Country. Sarutobi grinned. Yokai felt like fainting. Utterly flabbergasted, he couldn't find the words to say. Everything the Hokage said seemed too good to be true, yet at the same time it made complete sense. After what seemed like an hour, he finally spoke. Hokage-sama. Sarutobi raised an eyebrow at the honorific. Your diplomatic skills are unparalleled. You've given our people the opportunity to become whole again. The services you mentioned our village can supply with are acceptable and frankly small in comparison to our mutual gain. I, the Yokage of the village hidden in the shadows, accept your proposal. We are honored and shall make our home here, as your neighbors. Yokai said on the verge of tears. The Hokage smiled warmly and stood. The honor is all mine, Yokai Dano. Sarutobi said. Please, Sarutobi-sama. We're going to be neighbors with you being the senior residents. Yoka chuckled. We will also be loyal to the leaf as long as you stay in office, with your successors receiving the same respect. Thus we shall address you and said successors with that respect. You and I may be of the same rank, but yours supersedes mine in terms of respect. We are equal, but you have my people's gratitude. Yokai said with a deep bow. Now it was Sarutobi's turn to be stunned. Yokai Dano. There's no need for that, really. Besides, doing that in the open will cause unnecessary complications with people in positions of power. That may be. But in private conversations you shall have that much honor, and our way of life demands that much at least. Yokai said seriously. Very well. Allow me to welcome you personally as part of the Fire Country. Sarutobi said, shaking Yokai's hand. Flashback no jutsu. Release. Ah, yes. Naruto has performed admirably. He claimed with gusto that he would give it his all when we started our journey. And he most certainly did. His strength and skill level is possibly Chunin level. Although, due to the unique skills I've taught him, he will have a tremendous advantage in combat as his foes will not see them coming, boosting his level to possibly high Chunin. Yokai said proudly. What unique skills are you referring to? I am asked, interested. That beautiful, I cannot reveal. Clan secrets. Yokai said with a smirk and wink. She briefly giggled involuntarily and tried to hide it with her hand, but failed and blushed furiously. She then realized what he said. But if it's a clan secret, why did you teach Naruto those techniques? In order to be allowed to be taught these techniques, he must join the clan. And to do that, he has to accept our way of life and the faith we have. After he came of age, when he was mature enough to grasp the concepts, I told him about them. Long story short, he accepted. Yokai recounted. Wow, I'm curious about you and your way of life now, Yokai-san. I am, said genuinely as Tucci came out with the ramen. Here we are, 2 miso pork ramen. Enjoy. Tucci said cheerfully. I've heard bits and pieces from back there. So Naruto's improved greatly, huh? That makes me happy. But knowing Naruto, he has to have gotten into trouble every once in a while at least? Tucci remarked with a smirk. You're absolutely correct, Tucci-san. He loves to perform pranks, and sometimes I was the target, or I was affected by the fallout of them. Though I get the impression that his pranks outside of the village are different from those he pulled here. Yokai commented, then began to dig in. I'm not surprised. Sarutobi remarked, after swallowing his bite. His pranks were quite humiliating and often complex, especially against the worst of his persecutors. One of his more impressive pranks from his resume was when he managed to land a pink balloon hit one of our more prominent council members, a man named Danzo. His color of choice was, of course, orange. Imagine our predicament when he had to enter an important meeting with the council looking like a human tangerine. Ha ha, Sarutobi laughed, along with Iam and Tucci. Yokai laughed too, but since he didn't know the man in any way he didn't laugh as hard. But the impressive part is Danzo never actually found out who did it, and he's the man within the village with the best PFFFFF spy network. Ha ha. Sarutobi laughed again. Wow. That, along with some of the pranks he got off with in our travels, are borderline shinobi level skills then, albeit still genin level. Tucci mused with a grin. I know, right? I had no doubt in my mind that alone was an indication for his aptitude for sneak attacks, an important shinobi trait. Sarutobi agreed cheerfully. He had to admit it to himself, he quite enjoyed some of the pranks Naruto told him, along with the high-spirited way he told them. It made the old man feel younger. They chatted away and enjoyed themselves thoroughly. With nothing much to do since his newly found assistance in his shadow clones, Sarutobi suggested they wait for Naruto's inevitable arrival for lunch. They all agreed. The first lesson for the academy students, including Naruto, was not exciting in the least. Some could handle it better and listen, while others outright fell asleep only to be roughly awakened by an angry Iruka. While Iruka looked angry, he felt a little sympathy since he remembered how dreadfully boring it was for him at that age. But being older, he knew how important it was to learn this along with the actual ninja skills coming up next year. The subject was, of course, Konoha's history. While anything involving the Great Shinobi Wars made everyone's ears twitch with interest, the rest of how friendly relations were signed and so on, and so forth immediately dropped many of said ears. Naruto, being who he is, was bored. But his sensei, Yokai, had during their travels and sessions managed to make Naruto understand the importance to know history and other things not directly related to his physical training. Flashback no jutsu. Listen, Naruto. Some things you will have to learn are boring for you, especially since I'm only 8 years old. I got it. Naruto finished, exasperated. Yes. But as a consolation, you will grow up and come to see just how important it is to know these sort of things, like history. Sensei, I know and am all for the idea of getting this head start in the academy. But could you explain why it is important? Why should I pay so close attention to things, like history? Naruto asked politely, but his apprehension for the subject was showing clearly. Tell me, Naruto, have you heard of the Will of Fire? Yeah, it's supposed to mean our inner will to fight or something. I like it. Naruto said, smiling. You're only partly right. Well, actually completely right, but you only touched a piece of the whole story. Yokai said. Oh? What more is there then? Naruto asked, curious. Well, the Will of Fire is indeed about the inner will to fight. But it's about the will to fight to protect your loved ones, like you yourself desire to do. Yokai commented with a wink. But why is it there? Why do just about everyone in the village get it? Just how strong and meaningful is it? Yokai finished with a small amount of drama. Alright. I have it then since I want to protect those dear to me with all I got. That's awesome. I didn't really get that until now. Aji-san didn't fully explain it to me before. Naruto said with pride. That's no doubt to you being a bit too young to understand at the time mixed with his busy schedule. Yokai said. But you're now old enough to learn more about it. Finally! I'm old enough to learn something important. Naruto said excitedly. Yokai stared at Naruto, who caught on why. Sorry. Didn't mean to make anything else seem less important, he said sheepishly, rubbing his neck. Yokai chuckled warmly. Anyway, back to the point. Learning the rich history of Fire Country, and the Leaf Village along with the other country's history, as you know it anyway, will let you know more of why we as shinobi fight and when the will of fire's first spark came to be. All ninja have to know why they fight, Naruto. A ninja without cause to fight is a ninja who will lose heart, and make mistakes not to mention desert, or get killed if bad enough. Yokai said with absolute seriousness. Naruto nodded, listening intently. Moreover, you will learn in the academy about other things not related to combat. It is important you pay attention to those as well as they will help you stay alive and be an effective ninja guardian. Yokai continued. Like what, sensei? For example, basic medicine and first aid. What plants to use for food or field treatment of wounds and not by mistake take poisonous plants and further harm, or even kill a fellow ninja. There are sure to be more examples, Naruto. But I hope I have gotten my point across? Nothing of what you will learn is without its use, so I say it once again. Pay attention and learn all that you can and you will go far. Yokai finished. If you find it boring, see it this way. Boredom is a dangerous enemy, and you have to overcome it, and grow as a ninja. Naruto understood and made up his mind. He would do as his sensei said. It will be partly boring, but he won't go back on his word and give his training and education his all. Flashback no jutsu, release. So, being Naruto, he gave this lesson his all and his battle with boredom held it at bay. Yo, Naruto. Kiba whispered. How can you listen to this stuff? It's such a drag. Shikamaru finished. Hey, my sensei taught me that everything I will learn in the academy will be useful to know later on. He told me so in a way that I cannot argue with and I promised to give it my all, and I never go back on my word. Believe it! He whispered back with gusto. He wasn't quiet enough as Iruka heard him. Care to share what's so interesting to talk about during class, Naruto? Iruka said, the underlying order very obvious to all present. Naruto rubbed his neck in embarrassment. I'm sorry, sensei, I just commented that this is indeed an important lesson, right guys? Naruto said, hoping his quick thinking paid off. Yeah? Right on, my man. Kiba agreed. Sure. Shikamaru answered, not the least giving any effort to make his answer believable. Since you seem so genuinely interested in this subject, Naruto, why don't you tell me what I've been talking about during this lesson? Iruka said. He wanted to test Naruto and see if he was telling the truth. Sure, Iruka-sensei. You've talked about how each major nation was formed almost 1,000 years ago, and before that the discovery of our chakra networks, and thus our first ninja abilities almost 2,000 years ago. And? Iruka tested. And you were just now talking about our first Hokage, Hazarama Senju, and what the founding principles are for our village. Which are strength, skill, knowledge, and compassion. Iruka was pleased. Very good, Naruto. Now continue to listen and refrain from talking during class, even if it is about how important it is. Iruka said, smiling. Will do, sensei. Naruto said with a quick salute. As quietly as possible, Kiba and Shikamaru whispered to Naruto. Hey, thanks for saving our asses, man. Kiba whispered with a grin. Yeah. Why did you do something so troublesome when you could have just added us to the explanation? Shikamaru added. Easy, you guys are my friends, right? What are friends for? Naruto said with a wide smile. Yeah. Oh yeah. What say we eat lunch somewhere after class? My treat. Kiba offered. I am starting to feel peckish actually. I'm in. I will help treat you too, Naruto. Shikamaru said, smiling. Naruto was howling in joy inside at finding new friends. Super, I know just the place. Naruto said with a pleased grin. Later. So what is this place we're going to anyway? Shikamaru said. If it's much further it's kinda too troublesome to waste energy on for a lunch. Lighten up, will ya, Shikamaru? The lunch break is long enough for us to get to the other side of Konoha, have lunch and get back before the next lesson starts. Kiba countered. That's not the point. It's too much of a drag to go that far for lunch. We could have just gone to the academy's own restaurant. Much less of a hassle. Shikamaru complained a little. Don't worry, Shikamaru. It'll be worth it, that's a promise. Naruto said, grinning widely. You sure like your promises. Shikamaru observed. And I never go back on my word. That's my ninja way. Naruto said, a fist resting on his chest. Cool. But aren't you afraid you'll make one promise too many or make one you cannot possibly keep? Kiba asked. If I keep working on the promise till the day I die, it will be alright. But I won't die until I fulfill each one. Before that I refuse to die. Naruto, that's all well and good, but it's also a bit unrealistic. Sometimes things can change out of your control and you can't fulfill a promise. You may not be able to keep it, but it won't be your fault. Shikamaru said. The brainiac is right, man. You should not be so carefree with promises, especially since it's your Nindo. Naruto had to admit they had made good points. Alright, you might be right. I'll make promises with more care. Good, you'd be in too big of a drag should you make a promise you'd not be able to keep, and it would literally be too troublesome to get out of. Shikamaru said. Hey Kiba, what's up? Don't call me a brainiac. Shikamaru said with annoyance. Why not? Isn't that basically you in a nutshell? It's a crude description of me and it may give a wrong impression to others. What do you mean? Aren't you the smart one of us all? Son of Konoha's greatest brainiac? Kiba asked, confused. Sigh, maybe that's true, but I don't want to be looked upon as such. It will cause me too much work in the long run. Explaining being one of them. What a drag that would be. Shikamaru said. Naruto had to stifle his laugh at their antics. Whatever you say, brainiac. How about we just call you Shika from now on? Would that be alright? Naruto offered. If you must give me a nickname, then that one is good enough. Shika agreed. Turning to Kiba with a sly grin, Naruto said, I don't suppose mutt would work for you. What? The Kiba then punched at Naruto, who promptly ducked and ran away laughing. Get back here, you smartass! Kiba took off. Kiba, it was just a joke. I wouldn't call you that for real. Naruto said, still laughing while running around. Joke or not, you're gonna pay for that. Kiba said angrily, but he was grinning too. Akamaru barked in excitement as he too gave chase. Troublesome. Shika sighed. Kiba, being trained in speed, caught up to Naruto soon. Though Naruto kinda wanted to wrestle a bit anyway, so he let him catch up finally. But as they were about to wrestle, Naruto saw it. We're here! Naruto exclaimed happily. Where? Kiba asked, freezing just as he had a headlock on Naruto. Ichiraku's. Naruto pointed to the ramen stand. Ramen, huh? I've not had much of that before, to be honest. Shika commented. Are they good? Good? They're the best in the elemental nations. He exclaimed. Naruto, you can't claim that unless you've been around the nations and tried theirs first. Shika said with a sigh. Ah, but you forget. I have been around. Not everywhere perhaps, but I've still been around, and no other ramen cooks compared to old man Tucci. Naruto said with pride. Sweet. Shall we get to it then? Kiba said, drool forming in his mouth. They entered, and found none other than Yokai and Sarutobi along with the cooks. Hey! It's Naruto, he's back, father! I am shouted towards the back happily. Naruto? Naruto! Hey son! Good to see you back with us. Tucci welcomed Naruto with a big grin. I am Nichin, Tucci-jizan. So good to see you guys too. Naruto said happily. I couldn't help it. She had to run outside and embrace Naruto in a hug. Oh, little brother. I miss you so. She said happily. Naruto was stunned by this a bit, but in a pleasant way. She had never called him her little brother before, even though he felt a sibling relationship with her and called her big sis. So have I, but now I'm back, he said affectionately. And ready as ever to eat some ramen. He shouted enthusiastically, much to the amusement of the rest. But take my friend's order first, please, old man. Naruto said. He took their orders and the boys shared the pay for Naruto as promised. How many bowls, Naruto? Came Tucci's voice. I'd say about 7 bowls. I haven't eaten ramen for a long time and I plan to make up for it. Right away. 7 bowls? Kiba said, utterly stunned. This is seriously gonna hurt my allowance. Kiba thought. Sweet Kami. Are you trying to compete with Chuji? Shikamaru asked, who was a long-time friend of the rotund boy. That fat guy? No. I just love ramen is all. I've always had an appetite in general. Naruto chuckled. Oh, you'd better not call him fat, Naruto. He's very sensitive about that. Once he went berserk on a group of kids who called him that, and they spent the rest of the day getting their injuries healed in the hospital. Shika said. So he's strong too, cool. I like him already. I won't call him that in front of him. I judge people by who they are, not what they are. Naruto said. Other than Kiba and Shika, the others caught the underlying meaning. Good. But if you always had such an appetite, how come you're not as big-boned as Chuji? Shika said. Man, if I knew that he would eat as much as him, I'd have rethought my offer. Heh, I dunno. Plenty of exercise, I suppose. Naruto offered. Must be, man. If I didn't know for a fact that you're a guy and 10 years old, I would have thought you were eating for 2, as my mother said once to a pregnant lady. Kiba said. To which the boys laughed. But the others' laughter were half-hearted, which the boys didn't catch. The comment about eating for 2 had a deeper meaning than Kiba could have imagined. The 2 Kages didn't know if the beast affected Naruto's appetite nor if it truly was of importance to know that, but Naruto did indeed carry a second being inside him. Oh, pardon me guys. Kiba, Shikamaru, meet Yokai-sensei, whom I traveled with and learned from before coming to the academy, Yokai greeted with a wave and a smile. Hokage-jizan, Sarutobi chuckled at his ever-present honorific from the blonde boy and waved to them. And old man Tucci and big sis I am. The cooking duo greeted with smiles and nods. Sweet. Pleased to meet you 4. Kiba grinned and gave a 2-finger salute. Hey. Shika said, smiling. But then went wide-eyed as he realized, did you just call the Hokage grandpa? To which Kiba also went saucer-eyed. Sure, he's one of my precious people. Naruto said as if it was the most natural thing in the world. The Hokage couldn't help but laugh. It's alright boys, Naruto and I go back. Sarutobi said, but how does he know you so well, Hokage-sama? Shika said, all ears for once. I came across him when he was an orphan baby boy. Despite my ninja training I couldn't just let go of him and made sure personally to take care of him. Of course not in my own house as I am an old man and a busy one at that. I put him in an orphanage and kept an eye on him from time to time with visits. Sarutobi said. It wasn't a lie technically. He just left out sensitive information. Wow, you know the Hokage personally, Naruto? You're a guy who's just full of surprises, aren't you, dude? Kiba commented. Naruto chuckled sheepishly, and once again gave his trademark rub of his neck. What do you mean full of surprises? Yokai asked. Naruto now caught on. He wasn't sure if his sensei would like what was coming, but let it happen since he would have told him anyway. Yokai dude, Naruto showed up in class in the most awesome way. He appeared out of thin air and none of us, not even Irika sensei, could tell he was in the room throughout the roll call. And that everywhere voice of his, totally awesome stuff. Kiba told. Yeah, that was something to see, I admit. Shika added with visible interest. Did he now? Yokai smiled, but Naruto could tell he was in trouble. Sure did. Too bad it's not something he can talk about. That would have been awesome to learn. Kiba finished. Yes, awesome indeed. Yokai said, smiling. He then shot a brief glare of disappointment at Naruto. Here's your ramen, gentlemen. Eat in good health. Tucci said. They did just that and chatted away until it was time to head back. But Yokai grabbed Naruto's arm. Not so fast, Naruto. Yokai said with a hint of anger only Naruto knew how to hear. You boys go on ahead, he'll catch up. Can't it wait, sensei? I have to get to class. Naruto said with a nervous grin. Oh, I bet you're eager to get back to class, he said with sarcasm. But we have something to talk about. Naruto sighed and took his seat once again beside Yokai. Sarutobi had a serious look. He didn't exactly know what this was all about, but he had an idea. Yokai was now showing an angry look. Naruto, I thought I told you to not use your special techniques until after the academy. Why did you go and show off one of them like that from the get-go? Yokai demanded. Naruto shifted a little as he answered. I am sorry, sensei. It wasn't meant as a show-off, although it did look like it. Sorry doesn't quite cut it right now. I want an explanation. Yokai said, a bit more irritated. Naruto now looked down onto the table. He felt a mix of defeat, regret and frustration. Sensei, I felt I had to do it. Like I had no real choice. Naruto said with regret clear in his voice. Yokai relaxed a bit. He didn't anticipate that response. Hearing that it was the truth, he relaxed a bit to allow Naruto to feel a little more at ease as he asked him to go on. Well, here's the thing. I am not liked at all in this village. Pretty much every adult despises me and either shuns me or outright attacks me on sight. We know this already, Naruto. Yokai said. Yokai-san, please let him finish. Sarutobi asked calmly. Naruto gave a nod of thanks to Sarutobi and continued. Knowing how every adult would react to my presence, I thought it best to remain out of sight from the dean as he welcomed all those students gathered outside of the academy. I figured that if I showed myself there would be trouble from the dean, even if Aji-san himself sent a letter ordering him to allow me inside. He might have tried to goad me into making a mistake, giving him a reason to delay my entry or worse. All this in front of the other kids would make me look very bad. Naruto swallowed and spoke further, so I decided to hide myself from them all until I got into class. As I walked in I noticed the teacher, Irika-sensei. I of course knew that the teacher would be a grown-up, but I was still feeling a bit scared to reveal myself. During the roll call, I noticed that there were kids that obviously annoyed him and for good reasons, but he didn't let it show. That gave me some hope that he wasn't as discriminating as other adults. I let things go as far as the end of the roll call, which is when I also noticed he forgot to call my name. That's when I announced myself, asking him to call out the last name, my name. And when he did, I appeared and the rest is history. It may have looked like a show-off, and I admit it felt good doing it, but I also think it was a better choice to impress than to make a bad first impression with the dean. Naruto finished. Yokai had to admit, Naruto had made valid arguments and reasons for his actions. Alright, Naruto. But there must have been questions. What was the teacher's reaction? Yes, there was. But I didn't answer them. I said if they had any questions they should come to you. Which I honestly don't think anyone will, seeing as you're going to be somewhat hard to find, as sensei? And the teacher's reaction to my appearance was, as you might imagine, stunned. But I can gladly say he didn't seem prejudicial towards me. Naruto told. Very well, Naruto. I suppose under the circumstances it was for the best, and the damage seems minimal. But from this point until you've become a genin, you're to not use those techniques unless I give permission. Do I make myself perfectly clear? Yokai asked. Crystal, sensei. Naruto saluted, grinning for being left off the hook. He then had a thought. Sensei, what about that taijutsu style you've taught me? Can I use it for sparring? It's not really anything secret, go ahead. Just don't use moves you're not comfortable with yet, we still have to work on them as well as the transitional moves. Yokai replied. Alright, can I go now, sensei? I will be late otherwise. Go. And have a good day at the academy. Yokai smiled. Sweet. See you later, sensei. Bye Aji-san, Tuchi-san, and I am Michin. Naruto called back as he ran. Yokai turned to Sarutobi. It's a sad thing to admit, but his reasons were valid from where I stand. Indeed, Yokai-san. I did send a letter, ordering the dean to allow him inside the academy like the rest of the students. But he's also known for being one of the people to persecute Naruto on occasion, though not as zealously as others. I wouldn't put it past him to have tried to hinder Naruto's progress, which he still might. Naruto won't have a rosy time at the academy, I fear. Sarutobi said, puffing his pipe occasionally. What can we do, Hokage-sama? Yokai asked, looking down at nothing in particular. Until the dean or anyone else in the academy, save the students, attempts anything, nothing. I can only take preventative measures once I have legitimate reason to do so, sadly. Sarutobi sighed. What if they go about sabotaging Naruto in more subtle ways? It is a ninja academy after all. You are right. And if found out, there is no way to prove who did it. Maybe we can help Naruto overcome such tampering. How so? Well, they can't do much about his sparring and kunai and shuriken practices. Even if they did, it would be too obvious and risk being found out. No, the best way to sabotage would be to tamper his written tests, or his reading material with genjutsus. Have you taught him to dispel genjutsus yet, Yokai-san? Not yet. I did say we would get to it once I saw that he's gotten to a stage where he can understand it. I haven't seen that yet, but you could have at least taught him to dispel genjutsu? Sarutobi asked, surprised. He wanted to focus all his attention to taijutsu and ninjutsu as well as those I had to teach him when the time came. With him showing no aptitude for genjutsu yet, I thought the dispel part could wait. I realized that was a mistake now. Yokai admitted with regret. Well, it won't take long to teach that. Dispelling a genjutsu is much easier to do than creating one, especially the low-rank ones which are undoubtedly going to be used in the academy. I will get to teaching him right after he finished for the day. Yokai said, determined. Good. Well, I guess I ought to get back to my office. The clones dispelled a minute ago since their tasks are complete. And I should be there if something important happens. Sarutobi sighed. Wait, what about this Iruka character? Is he someone to entrust with Naruto's education? Yokai asked, worriedly. I know Iruka personally. Why do you think I put Naruto in his class? Sarutobi smiled reassuringly. He is a victim of the Kyuubi attack years ago. His parents died in the defense of Konoha when he was little older than Naruto. But I've seen him move past his grief, much further than the villagers have. In talks I've had with him, I've come to see that he's a good man, and that he doesn't blame Naruto personally for the incident. Sarutobi said, doesn't blame Naruto personally? It sounds as if there's something more, Hokage-sama. I said he's moved past his grief, not forgotten it or the cause of it. He's the best candidate for Naruto's academy teacher, but I have no doubt he will have some internal struggles still. But, as I said, I know Iruka and I have faith in his ability to teach without prejudice and to see the truth in time. Sarutobi said, very well, but I will keep an eye on him if it's all the same to you, Hokage-sama. Yokai said, fine, but don't interfere unless absolutely necessary, which I believe it will not be. See you around, Yokai-san. Sarutobi took his leave, and as he walked he mentally prepared himself for any onslaught of council matters that was waiting to ambush him when he got back. Yokai sat in silence, contemplating how to best help Naruto besides the genjutsu dispelling. He was shaken out of his thoughts when Ayam spoke to him. I'm sorry, Ayam-san. What? Yokai said. She giggled silently. I asked if you've been taken on a tour around the village? Actually, I've only been here once before, and back then it was a brief visit. I suppose I should now, considering, Yokai said, looking around in thought. Considering you're gonna stay and help with Naruto's training? Ayam finished with a smile. She was glad he was going to stick around, and not just for Naruto's sake. That and the fact that my people will very soon have all gathered to start building our village. I need to stay close, says the Yokage. Yokage thought. Indeed, Ayam-san. He smiled. Well, I am due for my break and I could take you on that tour if you would like, Yokai-kun. Ayam offered with a beautiful grin. Why, I would love to, Ayam-san. Yokai agreed. He then did a double take in his mind at the suffix. Kun? Ayam told her father she was going out for her break and would be back later. She came out of the back door and went around to meet Yokai at the front in her regular clothes. Yokai was surprised to see that despite wearing plain clothing, she made it look very good. He shook it off and asked with a sly smile, well, tour guide-san, which way shall we go first? Ayam giggled loudly. This way, tourist-san. She replied with a matching smile. Back at the academy, Naruto came back just in time for class to start. Glad to see you wouldn't be late for the second lesson on your very first day, Naruto. Iruka winked. Naruto made his trademark sheepish grin and rub as he took his seat as a few students, mostly female, stifled their laughter. I didn't mean to make it such a close call, Iruka-sensei. My other sensei held me up for a bit. I know, Kiba told me about that. Had you come a little late it wouldn't have been a problem. Now, for your next lesson, we'll talk about recent and current relations between all the great elemental nations. Irika announced. Kiba whispered to Naruto as the lesson began and Irika started to point at the big nations on the map. Good to see you back in time, dude. What was that all about back there anyway? Thanks, Kiba. And sorry, Sensei, student confidentiality prevents me from divulging that information. Naruto answered, trying to sound like an exaggerating psychiatrist. Heh. Geez, Naruto. I didn't know you had those big words in your vocabulary. Kiba remarked. He was surprised but tried to sound teasing to hide that fact. He barely knew what the words meant himself. Hey, just because I'm 10 doesn't mean I can't know stuff. Naruto said indignantly through the corner of his mouth. Whatever. Kiba smirked, glad he didn't come out as not knowing what it meant. You, on the other hand, I can see no reason how you could know. Naruto said nonchalantly. What? Well, you're still just a puppy in dog years, aren't you? He said with a sly grin. Why, you, Kiba growled. Akamaru, on the other hand, looked amused. Kiba, heel. Naruto, be quiet. We don't want to end up in trouble because of your bickering. Shikamaru whispered sternly. Do you have any idea how big of a drag detention is? Sorry. They both mumbled and started listening to the lecture. Two girls right in front of the trio had heard the entire exchange and were fighting to suppress their giggles. They, too, were surprised with Naruto's knowledge of those words and both were amused with Naruto's responses to Kiba's teasing. The girl right in front of Naruto whispered to the one to her right, who was in front of Kiba. How about that? Naruto's cute, skilled and seems to be smart. Yeah, but he has ways to go before he can measure up to Sasuke-kun. The other girl replied. I dunno, Sakura. Sasuke-kun is handsome for sure, but we know next to nothing about him otherwise. We've barely started the academy so we have plenty of time to find out more about Sasuke-kun. Oh, and about Naruto too, I suppose. Sakura replied. You're saying handsome at this point always cute, skilled and smart? There's a whole bunch of guys here that are either cute, skilled or smart or a combination of those. But Sasuke-kun is the only handsome guy here. I'm not giving up on him that easily. Sakura said. Ino sighed. Yeah, I just hope your reasoning doesn't come back to bite you in your next to non-existent ass. What did you say? Sakura said louder than she should have. Irika turned and said. I said that Iwagakure, Hidden Stone Village, at present poses no threat, but a grudge is presumed to be still present in their leadership at least. Don't worry, I don't think we're gonna be in a war with anyone anytime soon, Sakura. He finished with a confident smile. He then turned to continue. Ino couldn't help but giggle into her hand before whispering. I can't believe your luck, Sakura. He thought you were worried about Iwagakure. Sakura heaved a breath of relief. Tell me about it. But don't think for a second I am gonna let that one slide, Ino. She said with a glare. Ino waved it off. She knew her and Sakura's friendship wasn't the best at the moment, but Sakura couldn't hold a grudge over something like that, despite her threats to the contrary. Added to that, Sakura's infatuation with Sasuke almost always shrouds anything else in her mind soon enough. Ino herself was also quite taken with Sasuke's looks. But before it could develop into a true infatuation rivaling that of Sakura's, she saw Naruto's entrance. Ino, admiring looks and smarts, had made up her mind to inspect Naruto as well as Sasuke. On the front row and to Naruto's left sat a girl with lavender eyes which had no pupils as far as anyone else could tell. She had dark hair and a tan jacket. She appeared to be listening to the lecture, which she actually was. But due to the Hyuga's ability to multitask, using their eyes' ability at the same time as any other task, Hinata was able to both listen and use her Byakugan, all-seeing eye, to look at a blonde boy she found incredibly cute. Naruto Uzumaki. What a handsome name. She thought to herself with a smile. I never knew your name before now, Naruto. Before Naruto's journey with yokai, Hinata had spied on Naruto. The reason was that she couldn't help but feel drawn to his sheer determination and perseverance, though she didn't know those words back then, despite all the harassment the villagers put him through. She herself was a girl with low self-esteem and poor confidence, and she was fascinated by how Naruto could take it all, not to mention she was curious as to why everyone called him hideous names like Demon and Cursed Child but never his real name. Each time the Hokage came into the picture she didn't dare to stick around, afraid of being caught. But she did know that he was at that point in good hands and feeling better. She couldn't stick around either when Naruto was going to eat at Ichiraku's since it was around eating time for her too and she herself had to be at her estate so as to not be missed, thus she missed hearing his name. She thought about asking others but seeing all the hatred towards him she didn't dare to. She did ask about what the people meant with their foul name calling, to which her caretakers or family simply said it isn't something for her to worry about. Now she finally had no one or nothing to keep her from getting to know him, no reason at all. I should get to know him better now that we're in the same class. Oh Kami, how should I do it? He seems so strong and confident, and is so handsome. I can't stand for long if I get close to him, I just know it. She thought, exasperated, except maybe that some of the other girls in class were either having similar thoughts or were in quiet discussions regarding either Sasuke or Naruto, and reasons to like either. The two in question were blissfully unaware of their admirers. Unaware of their unspoken competition. Yokai and Ayam were on the final part of the tour of the village. So far the locations of notable interest has been the Market District, the Ninja District, which has the estates of each clan, at least those clans that has estates, the Hokage Tower and the top of the monuments. Of course, Yokai was already familiar with the tower and the monuments, but hadn't had the time to see each clan estate or the market district and what it can offer. They were on their way to see each training ground before it became too late, and she'd have to return to the evening shift when they came across a restaurant with apparently the best dango in the village. Present there was the restaurant's most loyal customer, Anko Mitarashi. She turned around and saw the stranger with the ramen waitress. Well, well, well. If it isn't the ramen princess. She greeted with a grin, which easily could be misread as an insidious one. Anko. Why am I not surprised to see the snake mistress hanging around the shinobi retreat? I am replied, wearing a similar grin. Yokai could tell they had some sort of history. I can go without dango as much as Naruto can go without his ramen. She admitted without shame. And who might this be? She glanced at Yokai. Anko Mitarashi, meet Yokai. Yokai, this is Anko Mitarashi, also called the snake mistress of Konoha. Ghost, huh? If I was anyone else I would say that is an odd name, but cool nonetheless. She commented with a sly smile. Wait a second, snake mistress? Yokai queried. Yeah, my specialty in combat is utilizing snake summons, anything from small snakes to medium-sized summons. The biggest ones are reserved for my ex-sensei, Orochimaru. Heard of that bastard? She said, spitting the name as if it was poison. Can't say that I have, though he sounds like a bad guy by your description of him. Bad guy? You are way too nice about him. He's one of Konoha's legendary Sannin, the great three ninja who once battled Hanzo of the Salamander to a draw, the only ones out of countless others to manage that much. Now, Orochimaru is a rouge ninja with a taste for the truly sick and evil, and that's the short version. It is no wonder you never heard of him. He's masterful in keeping himself hidden in whatever he does. I have heard of the Sannin, though only in passing and didn't catch any names. Oh, pardon my manners. I am pleased to meet you, Anko-san. Handsome and polite. But that cannot be all about this guy that fascinates you, is it? I am? Anko winked. I am blushed furiously and replied indignantly. He's a guest in our village and Naruto-kun's sensei for 4 years. He hasn't had the chance to enjoy our village's sights, so I took him on a tour. Naruto's sensei? So that's why he's been missing for so long, Anko said with widened eyes. She then approached Yokai. And just what have you done with Naruto-kun all this time, mister? She said in a mock protective tone. Why, training him to help him gain a head start in the academy, he replied calmly. For one, he then thought. Really? And just how good has he gotten? And who gave you that right, Yokai-san? Anko demanded somewhat seductively. Anko, that's not the way to behave towards a guest of Konoha. I am chided. Maybe not, but this guest has taken it upon himself to teach little Naruto about the ways of the ninja. And I, for one, want to make sure he's done a good job about it. If not, there will be consequences. Anko replied with a dead serious tone. I assure you, Anko-san, Naruto has learned much and is already high genin if not into chunin level. And the Hokage himself gave me the right if you must know, but more I cannot say at this time. Yokai said unfazed. He's not so easily intimidated by me, interesting. Anko mused. And just what makes Naruto so good? I can't go into certain details, but his taijutsu is not to mess around with for his age and his ninjutsu is on par at the very least. If you'd like to know more, why not ask or better yet try him out yourself? He suggested, knowing or at least hoping Naruto wouldn't show off his secret abilities. Excellent suggestion, I might just follow up on that, she said in a sly tone. This lady is something else, Yokai thought. Pardon me, Anko-san, but why do you show such interest in the boy? For the first time, Anko looked quite normal and serious. Because he and I share a similar past, though he doesn't know me that well. Things have prevented me from getting to know him better, not to mention protect him better. She finished with clear regret. Ah, so you are one of Naruto's supporters? That is good to hear. Now that he's back, maybe you can rectify the past lack of friendship? Right now he's at the academy but should finish for the day in an hour or two. You should find him and introduce yourself after that, Yokai said with a genuine smile. Yeah, I think I will, Anko said with a smile, this time quite beautiful. She then looked back at Ayam and then Yokai, and her appearance changed to that of something sinister. Say, where are the two of you going? We're going to see the final sights, which are the training grounds, I believe, Yokai said. Is that so? I think it is high time I took over this tour from here. Since you know next to nothing concerning ninja training anyway, you should just saunter along back to your ramen stand, she stated nonchalantly as she grabbed Yokai's free arm and dragged him along. Ayam was furious as she held her grasp on Yokai, who was sweating profusely beneath his garb. Like hell you will, Anko. This is my tour and I will finish it, thank you very much. Don't you have some poor, unfortunate spy to slither back to so you can interrogate him? Ayam said through clenched teeth. Why, Ayam, I didn't know you had it in you, Anko said in mock surprise. Wait a second. You're the village's interrogator? Yokai asked. Not the main one, that would be a Biki. You could say I am his main assistant, she said with a proud smile. With his method being almost purely mental torture, mine is physical. You sound as if you enjoy your work, Yokai said, with a hint of apprehension. Isn't that preferable than hating it, especially since it is necessary in our day and age? She said wistfully. Yokai, while seeing her point, couldn't fathom enjoying to causing someone pain. It's one thing if you encounter truly evil people, they deserve punishment, and there's little wrong in bringing it about, nor was it to enjoy it if you felt so. But knowing how the ninja system works, interrogators are not sent on missions as often as others due to their skill of extracting information from prisoners. Yokai wondered if it was warranted to enjoy torturing prisoners who cannot defend themselves. On the other hand, maybe there is enough reason since it is for the protection of the village. The fact that if a normal, sane person were doing such things for any extended period of time would go mad is another argument for having someone who doesn't mind. In short, Yokai was torn. He hadn't really had any reason to contemplate on these matters in detail before. The girls were too much into their bickering to notice this, perhaps to his benefit. Neither of the ladies would let him go, and thus they both showed the training grounds and added their own thoughts, which usually ended up with snide comments against the other. All the while Yokai just smiled and nodded, and the occasional I see he felt more like getting out of there and find some place to relax after being tugged on and dragged across the village and the paths leading to each training ground. Not to mention being in the crossfire of two angry ladies is a rather exhausting experience in itself. Finally, they were back inside the village and Ayam insisted they walk all the way back to her ramen restaurant. Oh, is that what you call it now, ramen princess? Last I checked it was still a stand. You need a tad more space for customers and perhaps more than 2 chefs to cook for that to be applicable. Enko teased. It will one day, I'm just getting into the spirit of it, Ayam said with pride. At least my food is gaining appreciation, which is more than I can say about those balls on a stick you seem to enjoy, snake mistress. Before Enko could retort, Yokai chimed in. Oh my, would you look at that, ladies? Naruto is about to finish the academy for today. Enko-san, perhaps it is time to go meet with him as I suggested before? Realizing that it was indeed time for Naruto to finish for the day. She also realized she hadn't taken the time to think of how to go about things, making her completely miss the fact that Yokai wanted to escape his captives. Ayam was about to agree with Yokai when she realized that it is about the same time her evening shift started and she had to hurry back or she'll be late. After saying some hurried goodbyes, Yokai was left alone at last. He let out a breath he seemed to have been holding the entire time from when Enko came into the picture, as he leaned against a wall in the street. Kami, have mercy, I have never been in a situation like that before. I pray I don't have to go through that again, he said quietly to himself, somewhat shaken. A block away, 2 women were walking towards a pet food store, sporting fawn-like face paints, one on each cheek. One stopped and asked while sniffing the air, Mother, do you smell that? She asked. Yes, Hana. It smells like, the mother began, trailing off. Fear. Hana finished, confused. Later at the Hokage Tower. Yokai was walking through the corridor leading to the office of Sarutobi. He arrived at the door when he heard a somewhat spirited discussion inside. He stood outside waiting to enter when they were done, but his curiosity got the better of him, and he used an unspoken jutsu to increase his hearing. The first words he heard already irked him to no end. The demon brat is back in the village. You must take measures to make sure he remains within its walls, Hokage-sama, said one voice, that of an elderly woman. She's right, another one, an elderly man, spoke. Naruto is a tremendous security risk. On one hand he might go berserk one day and annihilate us all, on the other we risk every day at least one of our enemies finding out about him being the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi and come to capture him for their own purposes. Him being outside our village, and for that long to boot, was far too dangerous and should never be allowed to happen again. A third unfamiliar and creepily collected voice then added. As you can clearly see, Hokage-sama, the arguments are quite valid and should be acted upon accordingly. Or better yet, I can provide the necessary means to hold the Kyuubi in for good and make him a fine asset to our village. Yokai was livid and was, against his better judgment, about to burst in and give them a piece of his mind when he heard Sarutobi respond. Valid arguments, you say? His voice was clearly angry. Naruto has suffered countless attempts at his life, or at least his health and property, and he has yet to come even remotely close to triggering anything regarding the beast inside of him. That tells volumes of his strong and durable, if not forgiving character. He roared at the end, surprising even Yokai. That should tell you that he won't harm anyone from our village, as himself or as the Kyuubi. We also have Jiraiya coming here from time to time, and he will check his seal to make sure it stays in pristine condition. Not to mention, should he ever lose his control, for any reason, we have the means to subdue him before it gets out of hand. He said, still angry but still in control. He then continued, as for the international risk, let me remind you that having a Jinchuriki present in our village is a deterrent in itself, as they all know we have one just as we know about them having at least one. They don't know who it is and that shall remain so. Losing Naruto would mean a severe blow to our international standing militarily, that much is true. Which is why we should take better care of him instead of more or less leaving him to his own devices, as you all have been too happy to do. Sarutobi said. Ah, then you agree that Naruto should be properly trained and protected? The collected man said. Absolutely, but don't think for a moment that I don't know where you are headed with this, Danzo. Naruto has and is still being trained, so that is no concern of yours. The fact he can now defend himself from civilian harassment eliminates any risk from there. As for outside threats, the fact Naruto's now a shinobi in training grants me the option of assigning extra security detail for him should I deem it necessary, which it is. NBU will keep an eye on him when he's outside of the academy until he gets put into a team. Hokage-sama, who was it that trained the boy? The third man queried. Someone I trust as a shinobi and as a person. That is all you need to know, Danzo. That goes for you too as well. But Hokage-sa, the elderly woman started but was interrupted by a stern and obviously angry Sarutobi. That will be all. Leave me. They left and were in a sour mood, Yokai could tell as they passed by him. They apparently didn't take note of him as he must have looked like an off-duty NBU. Yokai then entered. Sarutobi's face lit up upon seeing him. Ah, Yokai Dano. What can I do for you? I just came by to tell you something. I've just now gotten word by messenger bird. Oh, what is it? It has begun. What do you mean? What has Sarutobi started? But realization dawned upon the aging man as he remembered something. Oh wait, you're telling me that the construction of the village has begun, right? Correct. 2/3 of my people have arrived and begun the necessary construction of the foundations until all are gathered and can begin the real work. Yokai reported. Need any assistance in any way? Thank you, but we're doing good, so there's no need. I couldn't help but overhear your discussion while I was waiting outside, Sarutobi Dano. Or, to be honest, I overheard what it was about and decided to listen in. Sarutobi's face immediately looked sour. Yes, them three are my main source of headaches. They either want to kill him or put heavy, unreasonable restrictions on Naruto, or even worse, make a mindless killing machine loyal to Konoha out of him. None of which I will allow in my lifetime. Hopefully by the time I won't be Hokage anymore, Naruto will be old enough to take care of himself and not still be underage of certain laws that would put him in such care. That creepily collected individual. Who was he? Danzo. Also known as the Old Warhawk. Me and him go way back, in a not-so-good way. He's sort of always been a rival of mine in pretty much anything related to shinobis. He runs an underground force of special ANBU called Root, which are tasked, without consent of the Hokage, to deal with matters of security and most likely other things as well. I don't think I would like to know. It's a group long since forbidden to exist, but no one can prove that it exists, much less if he's the head of it. They are just too damn good at covering their tracks. No one, save Root themselves, can distinguish a normal ANBU from a Root one. Yokai was not happy to hear about that. Is Naruto in any danger? At the moment he should be alright, but keeping a protective eye out for him never hurts. Right. Anyway, our preliminary estimates puts us at finishing our construction of our village at about 3 years from now. But one never knows how delayed stuff can get. Right, so where exactly are you constructing? We decided to follow your recommendation and build here, just a few miles from the coastline. Yokai pointed to a place southeast of Konoha, close to the coast. It wasn't near any village or other known settlement, but still relatively comfortable distance to Konoha. About a half a day's travel by full shinobi speed, or a day and a half for non-shinobi. Excellent. It will be a breathtaking day for everyone once this is announced upon its completion. Sarutobi commented. Yokai nodded with a grin. Meanwhile, Naruto's final lesson for the day had just come to a close. He exited the academy doors and was heading for home, pleased with such a wonderful start to the academy. He failed to notice the surprised and disgruntled look of the dean as he noticed him leaving. But the dean knew he could do little at this point. That didn't stop him from already scheming and planning ways to foil Naruto's efforts at learning. Naruto also failed to notice a girl with lavender-colored eyes following him for a bit before heading for her clan's estate. What he did notice was the presence of a shinobi on the rooftops somewhere behind him. This shinobi had followed him for a bit and seemed agitated. Presuming this is another spiteful shinobi who's about to welcome him home, he decided to confront his stalker. So, he suddenly made a swift jump and landed in front of the stalking ninja. But he found himself surprised by what he found. There stood a purple-haired kunoichi with a rather provocative outfit, most likely to induce distractive thoughts in enemy male shinobi in combat situations. Naruto, being Naruto, didn't catch up on this as he was more concerned with the face this woman showed. A face of sadness and also somewhat scared. Not sure how to read this situation, he decided to go with his original plan and confront her, then go from there. Can I help you, Kunoichi-san? You've been following me ever since the academy, he stated firmly, showing no signs of his inner thoughts. The woman was at first taken aback by Naruto's sudden appearance in front of her, which was because of her state of deep thought, as otherwise her training would have allowed her to see the genuine training coming early on. As the initial shock subsided, she was at a loss for words. She was actually in a debate with herself at the moment Naruto appeared about how to approach him. Now the situation was forced upon her. Within the blink of an eye, she decided to go with her usual mannerism, tough broad. Hey there, brat. So you sensed me tailing you? Not too shabby, since you're only a genin to be, Enko said without a trace of her earlier inner conflict. Yokai certainly trained him well. She then thought, yeah, well, my sensei made sure my detection skills would be up to speed, for a genin at least. Normally I would not have sensed you, but I'm guessing you have stuff on your mind or you would have better concealed yourself. Naruto said matter-of-factly, but inside he was curious. Very astute Naruto, she then said, solemnly. Naruto didn't know how to take her showing emotions so openly. Could it mean she doesn't perceive him as a threat, or what? Lady, how do you know my name? And what's with this sad face? Do I resemble a dead relative or something? I know your name because it's Anko paused. What? What about my name? Naruto was getting impatient. Still nothing. Finally Naruto said with irritation, look, lady. If you're gonna chase me and hurt me like the other shinobi and civilians, then get it over with. But I will not go down without a fight. He then made a gesture towards his projectile weapon pouch to indicate he was ready to fight. No, you impatient brat, that's not why I know it and why I'm following you. It's quite the opposite. She stopped herself as she realized what she was about to say in her own frustration. The opposite? What are you talking about? Grr, alright fine, I'll just come out and say it. I've known about you all the way back to the first QB celebration mob chase, back when you were 4. Okay, what does that have to do with anything about you being here? Because you and I are the same, Naruto. We're both despised for reasons beyond our control. We're kindred spirits. Naruto was very much not expecting that. This woman had the nerve to come here and make that claim. His anger rose up and a very brief flash of red passed his eyes, but they were shadowed by his brows as he was facing the ground. Thus it went by unnoticed by both ninjas. Kindred spirits, huh? And what could you possibly know about the things I've gone through? How can you come here and make that claim, and more importantly why? And if it is true, how come you weren't around to help me out back then, huh? You have the gall to come and claim to understand me now after so much time has passed? Anko had a hard time taking all that. He had every right to question her and be suspicious of her statement. It wasn't easy for the otherwise temperamental Kunoichi to remain calm. I know because I was once the student of a traitor, Anko said, on the verge of either tears or anger. Naruto couldn't tell. This caught Naruto's attention. The student of a traitor? Who were you a student of? None other than one of the legendary Sannin of Konoha. The snake Sannin Orochimaru. Legendary? Sannin? Whoa, I'm sorry but I'm not following you, lady. The name's Anko, brat. Anko Midarashi. And I might as well fill you in on who the 3 Sannin are since you'll hear soon about them in the academy. It's a lengthy tale, so we should go somewhere where we can talk more relaxed. Naruto mulled over the things he just learned and was trying to decide whether to trust this Kunoichi or leave her behind for the risk of this being an elaborate setup. As the seconds went, he found that he couldn't simply ignore this. All this demanded answers. Alright, we'll go to my place. You'd better not be yanking my chain here, lady. With that, Naruto and Anko took off for his apartment. Naruto's apartment was kept in order by the landlord, who hoped to rent it out to someone at some point. However, this apartment had the reputation of once housing the QB brat, and thus no one ever came and accepted any contract. This left Naruto with a pristine apartment as opposed to the once shabby and run-down state it was once in, although Naruto suspected it was only a matter of time before civilians would change that once they found out he was back home. The two entered and took a seat on a chair and on the bed respectively. Anko told Naruto all about the Sannin and in particular Orochimaru, and what he's done and how that affected her as his one-time student. So you see, Naruto, we both are victims of circumstances, mildly put. And to answer your earlier question about where I was all the time, well, I was kept busy and couldn't be of help, even though I wanted to. My role is that of an interrogator as well as a special jonin, making me have little time left for anything else than eating and sleeping. Ironically, that was my plan to help keep my mind off things. Anko told further. When I found out about you, I tried to find time to help you or to prevent all the bad stuff from happening, but it turned out to be an impossibility. I can only hope you can find it in your heart to forgive me for that failing. I can also only hope that you'd like to have me as one of your friends. She finished with a rare show of emotion and vulnerability. Naruto, who had listened intently up till now, had to fall back into his bed in thought. Everything she had told him felt true and honestly regretful. The part of him that was afraid of being hurt again had been more or less silenced, but that wasn't what was keeping him in thought. He was happy to have someone who can relate to him and vice versa, but at the same time he was so unsure of how to deal with it. Not one to back away or letting fear control his actions, he decided to accept her story. Anko-san? He said, sitting up. Anko reaffixed her gaze upon him. I believe you and I do forgive you for not being able to help me out back then, he said, giving a kind smile. Anko smiled a genuine smile back. Naruto finished with a huge but pleasant grin, so no need to hope, because you and I are friends from this point forward. Naruto then surprised Anko by giving her a hug. Not many men have touched her, much less hugged her, and lived to tell about it. But this was Naruto, a boy whom she felt a kindred spirit with, so he was an exception. Along with yokai, hopefully. She thought as she returned the hug with another of her rare, genuine smiles. Yokai had left the Hokage Tower and found himself in a restaurant somewhere in the middle of the merchant district. He had recently ordered his meal when he heard someone say the oddest thing, "There's that smell again." Only trace amounts now, but definitely coming from somewhere in here. A woman said from the direction of the entrance. Yokai's sweat dropped. Of course something is bound to smell since it's a restaurant. Wait a second. Trace amounts? So it's not the food she's smelling. But what could she be? He was interrupted in his thoughts as the woman suddenly stood beside him, and he felt a small amount of killing intent, just enough to assure you, sensing that this wasn't a formal greeting. "Aha, found it," she said firmly. Hello, miss. And what have you found?" Yokai's sweat dropped again, this time out of nervousness. "You," she stated simply. "Huh? Me? Why are you looking for me?" "Because you still carry a faint smell of fear, which has risen slightly since I arrived. Tell me, Shinobi-san, what business have you in Konoha?" Yokai was confused. What fear? Oh, wait a second. She looks feral. She must have heightened sense of smell. Then she most likely is one of the Inuzuka that Ayam-san has told me about. You must be of the Inuzuka since you can smell fear to such a degree even when it has subsided considerably. Correct, but answer me. What is your business in Konoha and why do you smell of fear? She demanded with a frown, which looked more like a death stare because of her feral look. Kami, have mercy, she is not a woman to be trifled with either. Konoha seems to be full of hardened ladies, Yokai thought with a nervous chill going down his spine, all the while having a pleasant smile plastered on his face. Well, I'm actually back from a mission of sorts and am now basically waiting to start training my student in one last field before I leave for another mission. Really? I don't recognize you, in either looks or smell. Just who are you, and why were you afraid? She said impatiently now. Well, I don't know what to tell you about why I was afraid, as I can't remember being afraid really. Nervous, maybe, but not afraid. Nah. There's a difference in smell between nervous and afraid, totally different concentrations of adrenaline. She started tapping her foot and had her arms folded. Is that a fact, miss? Hana Inuzuka. Ah, Hana-san. Well, in that case I can explain what I must have feared rather than feeling nervous about, although it is kind of embarrassing. Hana raised an eyebrow. I'm listening. Well, you see, I was offered to be taken on a tour by this lovely lady who works in a ramen restaurant. Her name's Ayam. I accepted, and as we were going through the village, we came upon this other lady named Anko. Upon hearing the names, Hana's expression softened a little but still listened intently. Anko-san tagged along. But for some reason the two ladies couldn't seem to be nice towards one another throughout the remaining parts of the tour. I would have attempted to defuse their arguments, but something within me told me I should not. I keep coming to the conclusion it was Kami-sama himself, Yokai said, a hint of embarrassment heard in his voice. Hana now looked a little amused. So the two are competing for this man? Wow, it's not every day you see Anko actually keeping at her flirting. Usually it's a small tease towards the girl half of a pair. Although upon further inspection this man doesn't seem to be that bad of a catch. But I've yet to know his name. Well, that explains a lot. But I've yet to hear your name, Mr. Yokai, but that's my code name. I'm not to reveal my real name at this time. What are you, an ANBU? Not quite, but I operate like one in many respects. Very well. So who's this student you claim to wait to start training? I'm sure that you have at least heard of him. His name is Naruto Uzumaki, the Jinchuriki? Hana thought, barely able to contain her surprise. Yes, I know of him. He has been missing for quite some time now. I take it you've had a hand in his disappearance then? Indeed, he and I were on a training trip. He's just finished his first day in the academy, in fact. It was the very first place he went to upon our return. I will train him soon on the last thing I intend to teach for the time being, that being genjutsu, or rather the breaking of it. He has so far shown no aptitude towards this field. All the more reason to have him learn how to get out of one. Okay, it seems your story holds up. Naruto is indeed back since he's the talk of the town. He was seen recently walking with my little brother, and the Nara heir to and from the ramen restaurant. I'm so glad I was able to prove that I'm not a hostile nin. I would hate to find myself defending against you due to a misunderstanding. Why? Because you think I wouldn't be able to handle you? Hana angrily accused. What? No, Oh, so you're saying you don't like to fight Kunoichi, is that it? She became angrier. No, absolutely not. Why, is there something wrong with how Kunoichi fight? Are men better opponents? That depends, Ugh. Men. You can't seem to be able to apologize when you've made a mistake. I hope you enjoy your meal. Good. Bye. Hana stormed out of the restaurant. The waiter just arrived when she closed, slammed the doors behind her. The waiter commented to Yokai, Shinobi-san, please don't upset your girlfriend in a restaurant like that. It's disturbing the other guests. Yokai merely sat there with a blank expression in his eyes and that pleasant smile still on his face. Inwardly he was exasperated and wondered why Kami-sama saw it fit to make fun of him in this manner, among other things. Later, Yokai was waiting on Training Ground 7, which for some unknown reason felt like the right choice to meet Naruto at. He had left a note on his doorstep earlier, telling Naruto to meet him there. Naruto hadn't read the message until after Anko had taken her leave. In fact, if it weren't for Anko noticing the note, which had been slid under the door, Naruto would have been quite late. Finally Naruto arrived at TG7. He saw yokai leaning against the middle pole of 3 standing in the middle of the clearing. You have no idea what day I've had. They both exclaimed simultaneously. After a brief moment of awkwardness, they took turns telling of their day. After all was said, yokai commented with a weary sigh, Naruto, I would have imagined your day being interesting for sure. But for both of us, having such an interesting first day is nothing short of incredible. Tell me about it. But I won't complain, it's been awesome. So what did you want me out here for, sensei? Because there's one more thing I want to teach you about, something I've put on hold until you've shown any aptitude towards it. Oh, so what have I shown aptitude in? Nothing, eh? What's that supposed to mean? Ha! No, of course you've shown aptitude in all other things. This last thing I want to teach you, you still haven't shown that you're ready for it. Okay. So what is it, and why are you still going to teach me? Because it's genjutsu, and you're seemingly unable to fathom how it works. However, anyone can be taught to dispel genjutsu, and it is vital to know. I just wanted to let you train in all the other skills before it. Oh. Well, let's get started, sensei. Very well. Listen carefully, Naruto. Genjutsu works by affecting another person's chakra with your own. The most well-known type is the genjutsu performed through the Kekkai Genkai called the Sharingan. But others exist and are just as effective and thus deadly. In order to break the effect, you have to spike your own chakra by putting your hands together in the required seal and inject yourself with chakra from one hand to the other. Another method is to have an ally do it by injecting his or her chakra into your body at any point. If that's all there is to it, how come genjutsu is so feared and effective? Because sometimes you are alone and the genjutsu so thorough that your mind won't even know it is in a genjutsu, or the nature of the genjutsu binds your hands within the illusion, preventing you from doing the needed seal to escape it. Okay, I'm ready to learn. And so yokai taught Naruto how to break simple genjutsus. He knew Naruto would have to learn better ways to do it in order to truly be a resilient opponent against genjutsu users. While walking the streets later on that evening, he decided he would have to ask the Hokage for advice at some point. As he finished that thought, he bumped into someone. Oh, my apologies. I was in deep thought and didn't watch where I was going. Yokai said. That's alright, Yokai-san, said a bearded man in his early 30s. Have we met before? No, but my father has told me about you. Your description is quite easy to recognize, especially since no one else walks around in such garb, save Master and Biu. You have me at a disadvantage, mister. Who are you and who is your father? Oh, this time you'll have to pardon me. My name is Asuma, Sarutobi Asuma. Sarutobi, then you must be the son of Hiruzen Sarutobi, the Hokage. That's right. Now one could see you had something on your mind from a block away. Would you mind telling me about it? Perhaps I could be of help? Maybe. I'm currently training someone to be effective in countering jujutsu, but I don't want to train my student in breaking out of simple ones only. I want him to be able to counter just about any genjutsu out there, and I know I'm not the man for the job. Say no more. I know just the perfect teacher. Really, who? She's known as the Ice Queen of Konoha, Kurenai Yuhi. A handful of days have passed since Naruto's first day at the academy. Yokai have wanted to ask Kurenai to teach Naruto the finer points of counter-genjutsu techniques. Unfortunately, she has been outside the village for some time due to a mission to the Land of Marshes, where she was acting as a representative from Konoha. Naruto's time in the academy has so far been uneventful, with the days being spent mostly listening to Iruka's lectures and eating lunches with his friends. After the academy, he usually spends his time relaxing, but does train from time to time in various styles he isn't quite as refined in as the other styles. At this point in time, a Sunday, we find him doing just that. He had quite quickly found a favorite spot to train outside of the training grounds, which was on the plateau above the Hokage monuments. There he was practicing his taijutsu. Damn. These transitional moves are hard to get right, he thought. Transitional moves are a combination of an attack or defensive move with that of a preparation for the next move. This in itself isn't unusual for taijutsu practitioners. However, it is more pronounced in Naruto's case since his style of taijutsu depends on changing stances and switching styles, which results in his transitional moves to be more difficult and requiring more precise maneuvers. Combined with the fact he needs to adapt to his opponent and make split-second decisions on what new style to switch to in the middle of a move, it really is a most difficult style. This style, or rather combo style, fits Naruto's unpredictable nature like a glove. That said, it doesn't mean he doesn't need to practice to get it right. I really wish I had a sparring partner, Naruto thought while catching his breath. Yokai-sensei hasn't been around much for some reason, so I can't rely on him for now. Just then, he sensed an intent coming closer rapidly. It wasn't killing intent, but Naruto hadn't the time to deduce what it was as he spun around and just in time blocked a bare-handed attack. Without taking time to see who it was, he instantly grabbed the hand and made an overhead throw. The assailant crashed down on the ground with a thud and a pained groan. Wow, damn it, Naruto. I was supposed to surprise you, not the other way around. Kiba complained with a grimace. Realizing who it was, Naruto laughed heartily. Kiba? You sly dog, you almost had me. Hadn't I felt your intent, I would have been on the ground instead of you. My intent? The only intent I know of that can be felt is killing intent, but I wasn't out to kill you, Kiba said while brushing himself off. I know, Kiba. Killing intent for sure is the most commonly felt in our line of work. But as with everything in life, we have intentions. Yokai-sensei taught me to sense anything combat-related, be it killing intent or mischievous intent. I admit I think I need to work on the intentions outside of KI. That kinda makes sense. When me and Akamaru fool around we give off this smell. I kinda took it for granted and haven't thought about it, but I guess you could say it would be mischievous smells. I'm curious, just what sort of smells do you come across most often, overall or in ninja contexts? Either or both? Well, I can't say anything personally for the ninja part, so I'll just mention what my mom and big sis Hannah have said. They've come across killer smell, sinister smell, fear, power smell. Wait, power smell? Yeah, they say that when you're good enough in smelling stuff, you can detect the rough level of power another shinobi possesses. Whoa, neat sense of smell. I never thought of that possibility with smells. I know, right? I'm part of the clan and I sometimes am amazed of the depth of our techniques when it comes to smell. So what about the other smells? Let's see, I'm not fully trained, obviously, so it might become clearer when I get older. But when I walk the streets I get a whole jumble of smells mixed together. It's insanely hard to try to make anything out besides that which we focus our training on. It's easier for dogs and their equivalent of our years. Akamaru uttered a series of yelps, barks and whines. Akamaru just said that you kinda have to clear your mind of anything else and focus on a specific scent in order to filter it out. More dog sounds from Akamaru was heard, and he said that there are lots of smells related to the stuff people do every day. Kinda how sounds are related to how stuff are being done, like the hammering of a smith's hammer to make a kunai. Naruto took it all in and was thoroughly impressed. Geez, you guys. I had no idea smells could be so detailed. Shucks, Naruto. I never knew of your techniques, so I guess we're both awesome. Kiba said with a feral, yet playful grin. Well, I knew already that I'm awesome. I just could never dream that you could be. Naruto grinned back mischievously. This time Naruto could feel killing intent rise to very mild levels from Kiba. He was gonna get him for that. Sure enough, with a growl that could put a wolf to shame, Kiba launched at Naruto, and their fight ensued. Of course, neither were in it for hurting the other, much. It evolved into a sparring match without a word being said. Ninjas don't need words in a fight as volumes can be spoken with fists and jutsus. Seeing the golden opportunity to spar with Kiba using his more unique combo style, Naruto began to utilize it during the fight. Kiba had problems to keep up and got more than his fair share of punches and kicks as Naruto's attacks got around Kiba's guard or simply overwhelmed his defenses with speedy and agile strikes. Other times he got hit by powerful punches when Naruto saw an opening. After a while of sparring, Kiba collapsed on one knee, panting heavily. Naruto was also panting. His style was still taxing to him, despite his already considerable stamina. Holy Kyuso Naruto, what is that style you're using? Kiba said between breaths. It is a combination of many styles. I used a few of them with transitional moves to keep my enemy guessing. Naruto replied. What's it called? I dunno, I haven't named it yet. Huh? You're saying it's a completely new taijutsu? Yes and no. It consists of already existing taijutsu, they're just used in new ways. You could say that the transitional moves are a new set of styles in themselves as they require the already known stances, attacks and defenses we are taught to even exist. May I make a suggestion for a name? Fire away. How does Pharaoh Rampage style sound? Hehe, not bad, but it's not quite fitting. Although Rampage could at least be part of the name. Naruto pondered for a few seconds. He then exclaimed, I think I got it. Tempered Rampage style. Oh, that's a pretty intimidating name. I like. Kiba agreed with a thumbs up and a feral grin. Thanks, Kiba. For the suggestion and for the spar. I learned quite a bit today. You got a dog? Dog? Naruto said, unsure if he should be insulted or something. Kiba laughed. Our clan used unique terms of endearment, nicknames, for friends and relatives, just like anyone else. We use dog mostly. It kinda suits you guys since you're all about dogs and wolves and stuff. Well, I gotta get moving and get something to eat at Ichiraku's. Wanna come? Sure. As they started the walk down the bluff, Naruto asked. By the way, what did you come up here for? Well, I was bored kinda and wanted to find something or someone interesting to have fun with. I was walking by the Hokage Tower when I caught your scent and decided to see what you were doing. Then as I saw you in deep concentration I couldn't help myself, I had to act on the opportunity to catch you unawares. Why train up there anyway, Naruto? Naruto looked out over the village as they descended down the stairs leading from the plateau down to the vicinity of the Hokage Tower. He said, still gazing over the village. Because of the nice view, fresh air and solitude, mostly anyways. Naruto said, looking over at Kiba, who chuckled with a smirk. But there's one thing that stands over them all. Naruto said, slightly wistful. What's that? It is a reminder of why I'm training. To be the best protector of the village below me. Kiba looked at Naruto, who was again looking out towards the village. Kiba was surprised by Naruto's depth in both dedication and thought. Right on, my man. I see where you're coming from with that. He said thoughtfully after a moment. After they got down, they ran into Yokai, walking with a raven-haired Jounin Kunoichi with crimson eyes. She was a beautiful woman, despite her rather odd taste in outfits. The one she wore was looking like large bandages wrapped around her. centered at her midsection but covering her shoulders and enough of her hips to not show anything that should not be shown openly. From her knuckles to her elbows she was covered with regular-looking bandages, and her upper half of her legs were covered in a similar manner. Her right arm was, besides her bandages, the only arm with a normal, red sleeve. Finally one could see, covering her cleavage, a mesh shirt. Completing the look was a leaf headband on her forehead. "Ah, Naruto. Found you at last," Yokai said. "Hey, sensei. Who's the lady?" Naruto asked. "Naruto, this is Kurenai Yuhi. She will be teaching you the finer points of countering genjutsu." Kiba was astounded. This highly attractive Jounin-level kunoichi was going to teach Naruto something. He didn't care much about the subject, only that he got to get trained by her. Naruto was without a doubt the luckiest guy besides being the most surprising one. The woman seemed to notice Kiba's look. "Is something the matter, Inuzuka?" she said with an icy tone. Kiba collected himself quickly. "No, miss. I was just going to get something to eat before heading home, to safety," he said. He was intimidated by her cold glance, but he didn't show it. "Good. Now, Naruto. Shall we get started? Could this maybe wait for, like, half an hour? I'm starving after having sparred with Kiba over there," Naruto said, unaffected by the emotionless look she was showing. "We were both going to Ichiraku's when you guys caught up to us." Kiba was at that point behind Kurenai and Yokai, and was gesturing wildly to Naruto that he didn't want them along. He was scared by the woman just as much as he found her attractive, and didn't want either to show in front of her. "Very well, but don't dally. Come to training ground 5 when you're finished," Kurenai said before turning around and walking off in the direction of said TG. Kiba had just enough time to react and appear innocent when Kurenai turned around. When she was far enough away he let out a breath of relief and headed towards Ichiraku's along with Naruto and Yokai. "So this Kurenai lady is some sort of expert in genjutsu or what?" Naruto asked Yokai. "She is, aside from the Uchiha clan." "I would have asked them, but they're more specialized in creating and breaking their specialized genjutsu. Kurenai has a broader variety of genjutsus in her repertoire, and the means to counter them. She can even counter the Sharingan but cannot perform it. But having a broader repertoire usually means one is weaker in each style. I was just sparring with Naruto, and he had this far-out taijutsu style which used many different taijutsu styles," Kiba said. "I could tell each style in itself weren't as strong as they would be if more focus was aimed at them in training." "Correct, Kiba, was it?" Yokai answered. Kiba nodded. "But let me guess, you got your tail handed to you by the same technique, right?" "You got it, Yokai dude. I was not expecting it, and even if I did, Naruto is far too unpredictable for me to mount a good enough defense to stop him all the time," Kiba said. Naruto put both hands behind his head and grinned widely at the praise his style got. "Well, that is because being strong in one or two techniques is all well and good, if you are working with other shinobi whose techniques complement your own. Alone, however, you are open for suitable counters which ninjas may be trained in. Being overall weaker but more knowledgeable and skilled in a variety of jutsus opens up more options and therefore makes you much more versatile. And you and your teammates are better off if at least one of you have this versatility." As they entered Ichiraku's and ordered their meals, Yokai continued. "Which brings us to Kurenai. She has longer list of genjutsus and their respective counters which makes her a valuable asset in the field where encountering genjutsu users of unknown power is likely to happen. Even if that doesn't happen, her own level of genjutsu will be a great help in defeating foes of varying levels of power." Kiba, usually bored with lectures, was listening as he got a subconscious lesson through Naruto, while fighting, about versatility. Naruto was listening too, though not as intently as he was wolfing down his ramen like there was no tomorrow. "That is why Kurenai is the best choice for teaching Naruto about genjutsu," Yokai finished. "Not that I mind it, Yokai dude, but why is Naruto getting this training and not any one of the rest of us?" Kiba asked politely. "Because you all have family techniques to learn and more. Naruto does not. With a lack of relatives, and by extension family jutsus to learn, Naruto is left vulnerable in terms of skills, and that not only endangers himself, but his eventual teammates," Yokai explained, while a subdued Naruto kept eating something similar to normal, which wasn't for him. "Oh. I didn't know that bit. Sorry to hear that, dog," Kiba said solemnly. Naruto swallowed his mouthful. "It's okay, Kiba. I'm getting over that," he replied with a sad smile. "But I don't get something. Why is he getting an early start to his training? He's so far ahead of us other guys." Naruto almost got his bite stuck in his throat. He never considered himself ahead of the others. Sure, he got a head start, but that was, in his mind, more of a compensation for not getting clan techniques as the others did. Although as he thought about it, he was getting clan-specific training too, even though it came in later compared to when the others started. "I would tell you, Kiba-san. But that's because of something only Naruto should tell you, and I will in time, Kiba. But not right now. And I don't think I'm ahead of anyone. I'm just like anyone else, I've got clan techniques and other stuff. Besides, don't you guys get a head start in your own clan jutsus?" Yokai then added, "And while it seems he's powerful, consider that each clan has techniques that make them powerful. Some students make the classic mistake of thinking their techniques may be lesser than some others, but that's not true. Yeah, believe it, Kiba. Your sense of smell, for one, is so awesome. I could never do that. Naruto exclaimed as he remembered that part of their earlier conversation. Kiba nodded and grinned widely at getting the praise, and Akamaru, nestled in Kiba's jacket, barked happily. After finishing their meals, Kiba and Akamaru headed for home while Yokai and Naruto headed for the TG Kurenai was at. Kurenai tutored Naruto in more advanced counter-genjutsu techniques. Much to Naruto's surprise, as well as Yokai's who was present for the lessons, it wasn't anything taxing but rather unorthodox methods, at least in Naruto's and Yokai's books. It will be revealed in more detail what these methods entail when he uses them in battle. Time has passed since then. We now find ourselves 1 year after Naruto's start of the academy. During this time several things have developed, and events taken place. The Uchiha massacre has not yet taken place though. Naruto's friendship with Kiba, Shikamaru, Chuji and Shino has grown. The group became something of the in-group among the guys in the academy. Naruto's still oblivious when it comes to girls. Shino, being the recluse that he is seen with the group on rare occasions as he, himself, has said he's not a group kind of person, although everyone around him agrees his secluded personality has lightened up. He's more frequently seen hanging out with one of the members separately or seemingly brooding. He claims different when asked why he's brooding. He says he's communing with his insects. No one, save Naruto, takes further interest or even wants to understand beyond that point. Naruto, being Naruto, finds his clan's ability totally cool yet at the same time creepy, which in itself might be useful in some way. Shino himself, begrudgingly, agreed with that point. Chuji hasn't relented with his snack addiction, beyond what Irika demanded of him, or his humongous appetite when food is afoot. With Naruto's appreciation for ramen, the two sometimes compete about who's most capable of consuming the delicious dish, with almost every time Chuji being the winner. While he still hates to be referred to as fat or rotund, after Naruto found out, so long ago, that his appearance is tied to his clan's techniques and what those techniques really are about, he said to Chuji that because of it he should take pride in it as it is his strength, literally. Chuji, happy at having a friend besides Shikamaru who understands him and likes him for him, has even gone so far as allow Naruto to give him a nickname, Chulk. It is a mix of Chuji and Hulk. Naruto based it off of the fact that whenever Chuji becomes enraged, like whenever he's called fat, he expands his body and goes on a rampage, much like how the Hulk does. Chuji liked that idea since the Hulk is one of his own favorite comic book heroes. Kiba and Naruto's personalities are perhaps the most alike, and as such they have a close friendship. Even though the two bicker and fight, albeit in good humor, as often as they laugh and fool around, the two sometimes find themselves in deep discussions about various topics, most often regarding the shinobi profession. The other guys sometimes include themselves into the discussion, most of all Shikamaru, who enjoys a good conversation. Shikamaru and Naruto are more friends on the intellectual level. Naruto might act like a doofus and goof around sometimes, but Shikamaru is observant enough and has seen that Naruto is actually quite smart. While Naruto isn't as smart as Shikamaru or as knowledgeable as himself or Sakura, the class head student so far, Shikamaru knows that Naruto by himself is growing in both areas at a rate which will challenge himself and Sakura's position in time. The two sometimes hang out and cloud watch, something Naruto at first didn't particularly enjoy, due to lack of patience, until they started to discuss various topics, like cloud types and how to spot what sort of weather is approaching, since it is vital to know at times for planning an ambush or other shinobi-related things. After that Naruto relaxed enough to start enjoying the activity, or lack thereof, too, though not nearly as much as the Nara. Shikamaru actually found it fun enough with Naruto that he gave tips on how to be an observant shinobi, whether it be in regular situations or mission-related ones. He got the pointers about missions from his father. Hinata never really got her courage up enough to dare speak with Naruto, and continues to observe Naruto whenever she got the opportunity. Shikamaru noticed this but found it too troublesome to involve himself. It had to do with a girl after all. Ino had kept her eye on both Sasuke and Naruto. So far she deemed them to be rather equal in terms of looks. She found both to be handsome/cute in various ways. Sasuke's supposed stylish hairdo and dark eyes. Naruto for his whisker marks, wild hair and enchantingly blue eyes. She finds Sasuke's brooding and coolness attractive, but Naruto's carefree disposition yet serious attitude towards studying intrigues her too. As far as each individual's skills, so far she is undecided. So far only theory and knowledge has been taught, and so far they seem to be on par at least. I can't wait to check out their moves when sparring gets introduced to our schedule, she thought with anticipation. Sakura never relented on her crush for Sasuke. She's still the loyal to the death fangirl that so many other girls were. She started out liking Naruto somewhat, but that wasn't to last. Her parents, once they learned of Naruto's enrollment into the academy, vehemently forbade her to fraternize with that boy. She, of course, wondered why but simply got the response, "He's dangerous, Sakura, stay away from him. And don't speak about him with any other classmate either, he doesn't deserve to even have you utter his name." Of course this was to conceal the fact there's a law against talking about him. She was utterly perplexed about all of this, but she obeyed her parents and avoided the blonde, would-be genin. Not that she really cared, she was all eyes on Sasuke anyway. Whenever Ino or other girls mentioned Naruto, she would either avoid talking about him or downright say he just doesn't measure up to Sasuke, nowhere near. And left it at that. But she had to wonder why sometimes, whenever she happened to not have Sasuke on her mind. Why was he so despised and maybe even feared? He seemed like such a happy and average guy in many respects. Oh well. He leaves me alone, I leave him alone. I guess that's good enough. She usually ended her pondering with as soon as Sasuke came to mind, which was every other minute. Some of the other class members as well as other academy students outside their class had started to act differently towards Naruto than how his friends do. Some avoid him and some outright act in various mean ways towards him. When his friends ask why, Naruto evades by saying beats me or no clue, I treat them no differently than you guys. Naruto knew perfectly well the cause though, their parents. Needless to say, his friends were very confused. Yokai had had some trouble with the ladies he's encountered so far. Enko and Ayam had constantly bickered about being in his presence more than the other, unless one of them wasn't actually present. When there was only one of them, things went by famously. Hana Inuzuka had kept an eye on Yokai. Whenever confronted by either Yokai or her somewhat concerned relatives regarding her odd behavior, she says she has an off feeling about Yokai and wants to keep an eye on him for security purposes. Yokai tried in vain to convince her of his honest intentions. She didn't quite like all the hush-hush surrounding Yokai. The Hokage himself is tight-lipped about him according to her mother. Something didn't add up. Kurenai was of a similar mindset, though she kept her eye on him more subtly than Hana did. Unlike Hana though, she judges people based on their actions more than their words. So after some time of observing Yokai, she found there was basically nothing threatening about him, but she remained curious as to what he is doing in Konoha. Other than the ladies' issues, Yokai had little trouble. He and the male Jounin shinobi soon got acquainted and even befriended a few of them, namely Kakashi Hatake, Asuma Sarutobi and Meito Gai. Although Yokai didn't agree with Kakashi's fondness for slutty literature, Kakashi was a man he found to be trustworthy, unless it was a matter of punctuality. Asuma was a smoker. Other than that, he was an okay guy. Well, he found that he tried to avoid him. It wasn't that he didn't think he was a bad guy, he just couldn't stand his eccentric behavior. Luckily, he doesn't seem interested in challenging Yokai for contests yet. He's still too much into pestering Kakashi with that. The new village is still in the middle of construction. Back with Naruto. He was listening to the day's lecture, which happened to be about various flora and fauna in Fire Country. Suddenly, the door opened and in came Mizuki. He whispered something into Irika's ear. Irika then addressed the class. Class, I'm needed outside the classroom for a few minutes. Please read pages 44 through 46 about the various poisonous plants and their possible uses. I'll be back soon. At the last part, he exited the classroom. Naruto was about to comply with the task given when he happened to glance over at Sasuke's direction. He recalled that he'd seen the boy simply sit there and do whatever the class was supposed to be doing. He wasn't socializing with the rest of the class, well, not often at least. And when he did, he was often rather haughty and didn't speak much. The girls in school seemed quite taken with the boy too, not that Naruto got why or really cared. Naruto then got an idea. He whispered to his friends to help keep fangirls away if something happened. Before any of his friends had the time to respond, he had already risen and walked over to the Uchiha. Hey! You're Sasuke Uchiha, right? HN. You know, I'm curious about something. HN, are you as good as they say? In what? In keeping a straight face. Naruto said and then went around the desk Sasuke was sitting in and faced him with just about the same position and face as Sasuke had, glaring back at him. The rest of the class caught on to what he was doing. The guys snickered and secretly rooted for Naruto to get a reaction out of the stoic Sasuke. The girls, Sans, Hinata and to an extent Ino, weren't as hot on this idea and were fuming and glaring at Naruto for daring to disturb their supposed future boyfriend. At first, nothing happened. Naruto took this as an acceptance of the challenge from Sasuke. Suddenly, Naruto made subtle changes in his face. He raised an eyebrow, twitched his earlobes, stretched his lips into awkward yet hilarious ways and more. Naruto saw that the Uchiha was a bit surprised by the actions but kept his cool. The rest of the class snickered and chuckled silently. Even the girls had to admit this had piqued their interest, even if they were still mad at Naruto. Hinata was giggling silently at Naruto's antics. Ino was entertained by this exchange. Sakura was trying to ignore Naruto and simply root for Sasuke, but that proved to be difficult as the faces he was making were compelling to watch. To everyone's amazement, Sasuke finally burst out laughing, making Naruto grin widely at the results before laughing too. At first, everyone were stunned and didn't know how to react, but soon laughed along, even the girls, since Sasuke seemed to enjoy this exchange. You know, Sasuke, you held out longer than anyone I've ever done this to. How about a rematch sometime? Naruto asked. Sasuke calmed down enough to respond. Naruto, right? Naruto nodded. You're on. I admit you caught me off guard with this stunt, but you won't succeed again, though, he said with a smirk. Naruto blinked at the insult but returned the smirk after a second. Looking forward to it, team. He then continued, smiling but with a sincere voice. No offense meant, but you should lighten up a bit and laugh more, it's good for you, I'll think about it. Sasuke replied, hiding a smile behind his folded hands. Good, I'll see you around. Naruto said before returning to his seat to start reading. The dope managed to make me laugh. Few come close to even do that. Only my brother has made me laugh before. You are an unpredictable guy, Uzumaki Naruto. Sasuke thought. He made Sasuke laugh. I don't believe it. I'm so relieved it went alright. Sasuke's laugh is adorable. Were the thoughts of most girls in the room. He wanted to make Sasuke laugh more? Now that he mentioned it, Sasuke doesn't laugh. It's like he saw someone who didn't seem happy and wanted to change that. Skilled, handsome, funny and sweet. You're a very interesting guy, Naruto. Ino thought. Naruto-kun made Sasuke and everyone else laugh. Oh, if I just wasn't so weak. I admire him so much and I want to talk to him so bad. Hinata thought. If Sasuke is okay with Naruto, then maybe he isn't so bad after all. Sakura thought. Gotta hand it to him, he did the impossible and made Sasuke laugh. He's hard to figure out, but a blast to be around. Was the thought of some of the guys. As Naruto sat down, his friends laughed silently and congratulated him on accomplishing that which was thought to be impossible. Just then, Iruka returned. Alright class, I've got news. Next week we will start with the more physical part of your education, taijutsu. A chorus of cheers resounded the classroom and Iruka smiled. The following week, as Iruka said, the taijutsu training started, as well as the kunai and shuriken practices. Iruka has just taken all the students outside for their evaluation, to see where each student was at in these different areas. Before going through with the taijutsu matches, as Iruka decided any injury might impede aiming, they were to test every student on their aiming. As it turns out, each clan heir were quite good but far from outstanding. The normal family students were worse, as was to be expected. However, when the turn came to the Uchiha, everyone held their breaths in anticipation. Rumors had it he might be a real ace in throwing and taijutsu, and he didn't disappoint. There were 6 target dummies with 2 critical areas each, one on the head and one on the torso, with a bullseye on where the heart would be and where the eyes roughly would be. Any area that is not the bullseye is worth 5 points and any area that is outside the critical area is worth 2. The students were given enough shuriken, they didn't start with kunai yet, to possibly score 1 shuriken on each bullseye. The clan heirs had a total score between 48, which happened to be Sakura's, and 74 which turns out to be Shino's. The others are not even worth mentioning, yes they were that bad. There was even one who got a negative score for managing to ricocheting a shuriken right into the upper left thigh of Mizuki, who promptly and loudly left to tend to his wound. Sasuke scored 9 bullseyes, 2 critical hits and one that hit just outside the torso critical area. Totaling his score to 102 points, the maximum was 120, tch. I'm a bit off my game today. Sasuke snorted his displeasure. Off your game? That's pretty much outstanding for the first try. Iruka thought. The turn then came to Naruto. He got some curious eyes on him as well, though not as many as Sasuke had. He produced his given shuriken and threw each one in turn. He landed 9 bullseyes and 3 critical hits, just beating Sasuke's score. This earned gaping from the class and an irritated Sasuke. Wow, that was lucky. I usually don't get this many bullseyes. Naruto commented cheerfully, rubbing his head in what seemed to be honest mild bewilderment. How many do you usually get then? Iruka couldn't help but ask. 6 or 7. Me and Sensei didn't get that many opportunities to practice with dummies and I had to picture my enemy and his critical spots. Boy, did it take me a while to be able to get that high a score. I see. Well done, Naruto. Iruka commended. Naruto gave a 2-finger salute and returned to the ranks. His friends bumped fists and slapped his back in congratulations. The rest had just gotten over the shock of the display of skills. It is practiced that kunai throwing is not to be started before the class has had a certain time spent in the shuriken lessons, which is 1 semester. The reason being that shuriken is the easier throwing weapon to start off with. When the semester is done, kunai are introduced and the skills are applied to it with the necessary adjustments for its different shape and weight. For now, next up was taijutsu. Iruka paired the students off randomly, and had each match one at a time so to evaluate the students' taijutsu level. Since clan heirs and regular students are almost without exception so different in skill level to start with, regular students and clan heirs were not paired off with each other until the teachers deemed the regulars up to snuff with the clan heirs. The clan heirs matches were quite good. Kiba was up against Chuji, speed versus strength. Chuji was not as versed in taijutsu as his feral counterpart, he relied more on the fact his punches and kicks had more power behind them. Kiba's punches and kicks, no clawing allowed, were faster but Chuji was able to absorb much of their impacts. In the end, Chuji had to concede defeat due to exhaustion. Next was Shino versus Ino. Ino's taijutsu was basic and nothing else, punch and kick and block. Nothing fancy. Shino wasn't better off since his clan relies on their bugs so much, but they do realize the importance of a good defense so they make it a point to train in it as well. Shino likes to use his head, much like his fellow tactician and strategist Shikamaru likes to approach combat. Ino's approach was much more straightforward. She started off with a little taunting to try and rouse her opponent's anger so he would make mistakes. However, Shino is more or less immune to this approach. The same cannot be said about his awareness of its effectiveness, so he made a smarmy comment about her appearance, something along the line of her looks indicating she was more concerned with her appearance than her skills. Ino threw a fit and attacked Shino in a rage, just as he planned. It ended with Shino evading a left hook from Ino and struck her neck, knocking her down and disorienting her, making Shino the winner. Next up was Sakura vs Shikamaru, much to his chagrin. As soon as the match started he tried the I give up approach, but that was very quickly reprimanded and forbidden by Irika. Despite the fact he found it to be a tremendous drag, he decided it would be better if he fought for real instead of taking a beating from a girl. This time the girl was more skilled than the guy. Sakura may be a councilman's daughter, but she had punches and kicks that were more powerful than at first suspected. But her repertoire of moves was just as limited as Ino's. Shikamaru, on the other hand, had some moves but was too lazy to perfect them, so he ended up with a fight that was quite even. Finally, Sakura managed to end it with a punch to his gut. Shikamaru, due to his laziness, was not in as much shape as he would have liked in this situation. Hinata's match was different. She was up against Mizuki. This was partly due to the fact there are odd numbers of clan heirs and partly that her clan specializes in their special taijutsu, the Juken or gentle fist, from an even earlier age than other clans. Thus she was considered ahead of the others to such a degree that she requires a chunin to fight against, though it was a one-sided battle since Mizuki wasn't fighting back. After 2 minutes Irika called the match over and made the necessary notes regarding her skill level. Finally the match everyone in the class was waiting for came, Sasuke's match. He was pitted against Naruto. The two entered the ring. Sasuke glared at his opponent, sizing him up. Naruto gave Sasuke a relaxed glance before making a few brief stretching and warm-up exercises to loosen up. Irika then asked if the two were ready, to which Sasuke responded with a nod accompanied with a HN. Naruto merely made a fist with his right hand and put it in his left palm and made a short bow towards his opponent before taking his fighting stance, a look of concentration in his eyes. Sasuke had to respect Naruto for taking him seriously. He returned the gesture and took his stance. A/N YouTube, Streets of Rage attacked the barbarian. Hajime Irika started the match. Neither combatant made a move, still eyeing each other. The class was waiting with bated breath for either to make the first move. Finally, Sasuke's patience ran out and he launched his barrage of punches and kicks. Naruto didn't make any counter moves yet, he simply dodged and blocked Sasuke's attacks. No one understood why Naruto didn't make a move on Sasuke yet. Sasuke was also wondering why Naruto wasn't hitting back, but he suspected he had his reasons. He might be trying to find my weakness. Clever Naruto. But any weakness I may have won't be enough for you to take advantage of, he thought. All of a sudden, Naruto made his first offensive move. He grabbed Sasuke's right hand with his own right hand and quickly moved in to put his back to Sasuke's torso. As he did so he came in with his left elbow to Sasuke's left flank, making him wince in pain and lose his footing. As he lost it, he dropped a bit but was held in a slightly awkward position as Naruto still held his hand. But he didn't for long as he made a fierce cry and brought his right elbow fast and hard onto Sasuke's head in a powerful strike, causing Sasuke to fly a small distance and skid along the ground dazed. Sasuke wasn't out yet though. He got to his feet and took a moment to regain his senses, which Naruto allowed as he held his ground, bouncing on his feet in a sort of combat dance. He's better than I gave him credit for, and he knows I'm no pushover. So far he's taking his time, waiting for me to make an opening for him to capitalize upon. Up till now, save perhaps the Hyuga girl, no one has shown skill that really challenges mine, Sasuke thought. He then smirked. Alright, Naruto. Let's take this up a notch. Sasuke ran at Naruto, who readied himself for Sasuke's onslaught to come. But Naruto didn't expect what came next. Sasuke made a series of rapid feints which made Naruto waste movements and split-second decisions to block or evade attacks that never came, leaving him open for a real one. Finally, Sasuke saw his opening and acted on it immediately. Naruto had just made a reflex move to block one of Sasuke's kicks, which turned out to be another feint turn reel since he in mid-sweep crouched and bypassed Naruto's block. Sasuke's leg came around very fast for another pass, aimed at Naruto's legs. Naruto saw this coming and jumped in the air to evade. But Sasuke had this planned. As the leg was approaching where Naruto's feet once were, he jumped up and, using the momentum of the motion, hit a surprised Naruto in the side of his stomach, causing him to make a windmill spin in the air and landed on his shoulder hard. Oh, that hurt. He's obviously taken this fight to the next step. You're so on, Sasuke, Naruto thought. Sasuke had returned the courtesy Naruto showed earlier and allowed him to get up and ready himself for the next exchange of blows. Naruto cracked his neck and took his stance once again. He soon dashed at Sasuke and the two began a rapid series of attempted strikes against the other. No longer did Naruto block or evade Sasuke's strikes, he tried to counter as well. Sasuke kept up his rapid barrage of feints, concealing his actual attacks to come, but Naruto wasn't going to be fooled a second time. At one point, Naruto had just redirected one of Sasuke's punches and made a kick with his right leg into Sasuke's stomach. Sasuke caught the leg but was taken by surprise when Naruto cried out and made an agile, counterclockwise sweep at Sasuke's face with his other leg, while the first one was still being held at his stomach. Sasuke had no time to release and block, and so took the blow and spun around in the air. He landed hard on the ground and almost sprained his ankle upon impact. Naruto, again, waited for Sasuke to get back on his feet. But Sasuke simply stood there, awaiting Naruto's move. Naruto obliged and came at him. Again, some punch and kick attempts were made by both combatants, with no one gaining a true advantage. Guys, look at them go at it. It's so intense. Shuji commented in awe. Seriously. I never knew Naruto had this much combat skill in him, said one of the civilian students. Hey, you guys haven't seen it all yet, Kiba said, though he still was impressed by the display. Holy crap. They're both exceptionally skilled in taijutsu. Maybe Hinata should have been in on a free-for-all fight between the three of them. Iruka thought. I suspected Sasuke was better than any of us in taijutsu from the rumors going on, but I never knew he could be this good. And yet Naruto is holding his own against him. This is incredible, Ino thought as she watched with wide eyes. Hinata was in a similar state as Ino. Naruto-kun, be careful. Sakura was in absolute awe of Sasuke's display of combat skills. But she couldn't help but notice Naruto's prowess as well, since he managed to land some hits on Sasuke too. Naruto's giving Sasuke a run for his money. I don't believe it. He keeps on surprising us, she thought. Shikamaru had fallen asleep, but at the commotion he woke up. As he saw the fight, he made a mental note to not get into a fight against either of them. Shino raised an eyebrow at the fierce fighting going on. He and Shikamaru both noticed the subtle tactics both employed to gain advantage, and had to respect each of their abilities to keep the other on his toes. Finally, Naruto managed to make a surprise move and send a flying knee strike into Sasuke's torso, causing not only Sasuke to double up in pain, but the audience to wince heavily at the impact. He followed it up with nasty elbow to the back of his head, making Sasuke do an involuntary frontal flip, landing on his back, knocked out. A/N, YouTube part end. Panting heavily, Naruto went down on his knees and checked his opponent to see if he was okay. Relieved to see he was merely unconscious and not too badly injured, he made a quick hand sign and held his now glowing hand on the back of Sasuke's head. This surprised everyone yet again. Naruto, what are you? Iruka asked. It's alright, Iruka-sensei. I'm just helping Sasuke regain consciousness, as well as take the edge off the headache he's bound to feel from that last strike of mine, Naruto said as he concentrated. After a moment, Sasuke came to. He saw Naruto kneeling beside him doing something to the back of his head. What's going on? He asked somewhat groggy. We just had our match, and you got KO'd, Naruto explained. Sasuke got a displeased face and grunted in annoyance as well as pain. Naruto caught on to this. What's wrong? I lost. Is that all? Aren't you proud of the amazing fight we just had? What do you mean, Dobe? We had a great fight from which we both learned from, Sasuke. I learned about your style of fighting and have gotten new moves to meditate on how to counter, and realized I need to improve some of my moves. I bet you did on your end too. Isn't that great? And don't worry, it was such an even fight it could have gone either way in the blink of an eye. Next time we fight, you could very well win. Or we could even have a double KO, hee hee. Naruto explained with a pleased grin. Sasuke hadn't thought of that. If not for Naruto's skill level, he'd sorely lack a worthy sparring partner that could match his own. This brought a new respect for Naruto within Sasuke. I guess so, Dobe. Great match and nice win, he said as he raised his hand, asking for a hand getting up. Naruto took the hand and helped Sasuke up, and gave Sasuke a firm handshake afterwards. It was in thanks for being a great opponent, Naruto replied with a pleased grin. Just as he finished that sentence, a round of applause and cheering came from the spectators around them. 6 months has passed since the taijutsu match between Naruto and Sasuke. Slowly but steadily their relationship went from that of a rivalry to that of a competitive but close friendship. Sasuke opened up a bit to Naruto about himself, explaining why he's normally so reclusive. They were walking from one of the training grounds towards the Uchiha compound late one evening after a day full of training and sparring with their friends. It's my brother. Your brother? What about him? Itachi, my brother, he and I, well, we're close and all. But ever since he's been busying himself with his work as an ANBU captain, that has kept us apart. The times he does come around for training and having fun, he's been so distant and usually only stays for a very short time. I don't know what to make of it, if I've done something wrong or if something's happened that makes him so, I dunno, cold. Oh, Naruto said thoughtfully. If I were to venture a guess, I don't think you're to blame, Sasuke. I've heard from my sensei that the life of an ANBU, more so a captain of them, is filled with blood and pain, more so than the average shinobi. It wouldn't surprise me if he is disturbed by some of the things he witnesses. But as a ninja you're supposed to quell any emotions and not let them show, Sasuke said. That's true. Then again, my sensei says that emotions are part of what makes us human, and being human is something no ninja can deny completely, or even mostly for long. If you asked me, the will of fire, which is about protecting those dear to us, is about letting the feelings we have for our precious people give us strength to fight. That in itself is kinda contradictory. Yeah, I have thought about that too, it confuses me. Well, I say that we should let our emotions be a larger part of our shinobi life if it gives us strength. Naruto said with a grin. Naruto, what about emotions clouding our judgment? Naruto had to concede. He's allowed his anger get the best of him before, and that cost him during sparring sessions with his sensei. Yeah, I dunno. I have to ask my sensei more about this. Anyway, so that's the reason you're so glum all the time? Naruto said with a teasing grin. Sasuke snorted yet smirked. I call it brooding, dope. Sure, whatever you say, team. But seriously, why not open up more and enjoy the friends you have around you? You also have a few ladies after you. Naruto snickered. That I am perfectly aware of, Naruto. Don't remind me. He responded with disdain. You don't like having girls liking you? Naruto said surprised. Sigh, what guy wouldn't? But let's face it, they're way too immature and annoying to want to be with at this time. Right now, they'd be a distraction. Not only to me, but themselves. Themselves? Naruto asked, truly confused. By focusing their attention on me and not their education as a kunoichi. I mean, if they took it seriously, they'd not only be very effective as ninja and can handle themselves, but I can depend on them in the future. If things progress the way they are right now, they'll only be a liability for everyone around them. That's why I try to deny them as much attention to prevent it. Wow, you've really thought this through, haven't you? Naruto said with an impressed look. That's what brooding is good for, among other things. Sasuke retorted. As for other friends, you are right, however. I should lighten up. Yeah, based on your earlier argument you should. My earlier argument? Yeah, about being a distraction. Sasuke looked at Naruto with much confusion. You're not making sense, though. Think about it. You said you'd rather not open up to the girls because they'd be a distraction, since they're so far behind due to their fangirl devotion. But the opposite can be said about the guys and some of the other girls. The opposite? As in they'd improved my time in the academy? Right. They take their stuff seriously, as you and I do. And if you let them in, you can grow stronger in just about every area with their help, just as they'd grow stronger due to their friends. I mean, just look at us too. Because we find each other worthy rivals, we also grow more because of it, but we also train and such together. If more are included, your growth is guaranteed to increase exponentially. Yeah, I guess you bring up valid arguments. Okay, I'll try to relax more and stuff. Glad to hear it. But one thing disturbs me still. Naruto said. What? Well, now that you brought up the girls' lack of interest in their kunoichi skills due to yourself, no offense, then I can't help but want to do something about it. Naruto said thoughtfully. First off, none taken. Secondly, Naruto, you just want more girls for yourself. Sasuke mock accused. Naruto blushed and threw Sasuke an angry and indignant glare. Hey! I do not, team. I truly want to try and make them take their training seriously. Yeah, whatever, dope. Sasuke replied with disinterest. But just for the cause of getting rid of the fangirls, I'm all ears to what you're gonna suggest. Naruto glared for a moment before returning to think about how to go about it. After a while he finally said what his plan entailed. Okay, here's what I would have us do. The girls are all in a sort of club of rivalry, right? Sasuke nodded the affirmative. Alright. And just as our rivalry, they would do anything to outperform one another in getting your attention. What if you were to give them the right incentive? What? I told you I don't want to give them the wrong idea, nor do I even want to be with any of them. Calm down, Sasuke. All I'm saying is that you are in a position to steer them in the right direction. How? Well, let's say the girls asked you what you find attractive in a girl. What would you answer? I'd say I like a strong and skilled kunoichi who can take care of herself and be of use to the team she's in. Naruto got slightly taken aback by the answer. That's it? Nothing on looks or personality? Of course, but that comes later. Okay, whatever. That's actually a great answer. Here's the plan. Tomorrow, I and the rest of the guys will start talking amongst ourselves, but so the girls can hear us, about them and you. I'll say that they're a lost cause since they haven't even asked you what you like in girls. A/N, which they haven't. Fangirls. Wait. Sasuke's face brightened up in realization of where Naruto was going with this. And then they'll think and argue amongst themselves a bit before deciding to ask me, most likely in a group at lunch or after school, what I like, and then when I tell them my answer they will focus their rivalry in their training instead of their obsession over me? Ding ding ding. We have a winner, Naruto said with a sliver of sarcasm. Sasuke either didn't notice or bothered to react since he was in deep thought of the plan. That would not only get them off my case a great deal but also more or less make sure they'll be good kunoichi by the time they graduate. Not bad, Naruto. If I didn't know better, I'd say you'd be almost as smart as Nara. Thanks, Naruto said with pride before he caught the hidden jab. Hey, wait a second. He shouted and attempted to grab Sasuke for a brawl. Sasuke merely laughed mock-evilly and evaded Naruto's grasp while running the final distance towards the entrance of Sasuke's mansion. Inside the mansion, while Naruto and Sasuke were still in the middle of their discussion, Fugaku and Mikoto Uchiha, father and mother of Sasuke and Itachi, were in the dining room and kitchen respectively. Fugaku was reading the Fiery News, which was Fire Country's lead newspaper, currently grunting in displeasure, as his favorite sports team, the Konoha Katanas, were doing poorly this year. This time they lost against Kumogakure's team, the Reiko Naginatas, by a mere point. Fugaku snorted his displeasure, loudly enough to alert his wife. Is something the matter, honey? She called from the kitchen. Bah! The Katanas lost against the Naginatas by a mere point. It's disgraceful, I tell you. They should have won by the same instead, if not completely denying the other team points altogether. Mikoto giggled to herself before consoling him all the way from the stove. It's not that bad, Fugaku-kun. Everyone has a bad year from time to time. She couldn't avoid being up to speed, being with a sports-crazed husband as Fugaku, even though she wasn't into sports at all. It just goes to show even the Katanas aren't unaffected by the Hokage's lax rule. Fugaku commented with clear disgust for said leader. While Mikoto was a kind and loving mother and wife, she was also somewhat against the way the Hokage ruled the village. That said, she wasn't as much against him as her husband. Now, dear. You know as well as I do that there's just no way the team could be affected by how our Hokage leads us. The team is composed of people from all over Fire Country and is sponsored by Fire Daimyo himself. Fugaku merely mumbled an unintelligible response. What did you say, Uchiha Fugaku? Mikoto called with an angry tone. She didn't like mumbling. To her it's like hiding a grimace aimed at you. Oh, nothing, Mikoto-chan. I was just reading out loud. Fugaku lied through his teeth. I thought so. Supper will be ready in a few minutes. Mikoto called back. All right, Koichi, darling. Fugaku sighed in relief and returned his attention to his paper. Suddenly the door opened and slammed shut. After a brief moment, Itachi walked into the dining room. Father. Itachi greeted neutrally. Itachi. He returned, equally neutral. We need to talk. Itachi stated. What about? Fugaku's gaze never left the paper. Your attempts at starting a rebellion. Itachi answered. This caught Fugaku's attention. He put the paper on the table and turned to face his son. All right, son. What is the matter? He queried. Father, it's not right. I know you're not pleased with how our Hokage has ruled so far. But take a look around you. Our village has prospered and recovered just fine, great in fact, from our last war and the Kyubi incident under his guidance. To go so far as to instigate a rebellion because of your petty disagreement is nothing but an act of utter, childish selfishness and arrogance, not to mention traitorous and downright murderous for all the lives that will be lost. Itachi argued, still with a neutral tone, but the underlining determination could still be felt. Fugaku's eyes hardened at his son's words. Itachi. You're too young to realize that the Hokage's ways will bring us to ruin in the end. His ways has brought us far from the days of glory. Glory? What glory? The glory of war? There's no such thing as glory in war. Itachi said, this time with some fire. Speaking of war. If this rebellion takes place, even if it fails, it will almost instantly trigger a new shinobi world war all over again. If any country caught whiff of any sort of instability in our ranks, then they would not hesitate to capitalize upon our moment of weakness. We're the mightiest nation in the world, Itachi. We will prevail as we always have, should it come to pass. Fugaku argued. See? That's just it. You're not even considering the war itself. You're perfectly willing to risk the countless lives involved in that war just to win your argument against the Hokage. It's more than an argument, son. Fugaku fumed. It's about the future of our great village. What future will we have if you plunge us into a world war? How much more must our people suffer? Haven't they been through enough of our previous leaders' squabbles, which always have affected their people in the negative? That is enough, Itachi. This has to be done. Nearly all of the Uchiha are with me. I just need a little more time to convince the rest to join me, and then our superior bloodline will crush all opposition. Fugaku shouted in a moment of rare, warped passion. Itachi was also showing a rare emotion, shock. But also deep disappointment and sadness. Is that your final word on the matter? Itachi said, after regaining his composure. It is, now leave. You're not having supper for this foolishness of yours. Fugaku ordered. In the kitchen, Mikoto was in tears. She had heard the entire exchange. While she was not in agreement with everything the Hokage did, she was still supportive of him in general. It was her duty to support him. But at the same time she loved her husband dearly, and wanted to support him as well in his endeavors. She was torn. Very torn. And the fact their son was obviously against the whole thing didn't help matters any. She also wanted to agree and side with their son. What was she to do? Suddenly she noticed that Itachi was standing in the kitchen with her. Even though her eyes were moist, she had no problem discerning who it was. He watched her briefly, looking for something judging from the gaze he gave. Itachi then approached his mother and embraced her in a hug. She returned it tenderly. Mother? Itachi half whispered. Yes, Itachi-kun? She responded in a half whisper. I know you are torn between your two duties. But I need to know. Where do you stand ultimately? Itachi said with a determined voice, but it showed his affection too. Mikoto didn't know what to say. She was internally hoping this would blow over and all would be fine again, but as it stands, she's caught between a rock and a hard place. My son, I do not know. she whispered. I just do not know, she said between stifled sobs. Itachi pulled away from the embrace and looked into Mikoto's eyes once more. After a moment, his eyes seemed to indicate that he was in pain himself. Mother, he said quietly. Yes, Itachi-kun, she said, smiling a sad smile. I must go on a mission. But I will be back real soon. Can you do something for me in the meantime? He asked with another, rare show of emotion, deep concern. Anything for you, my beloved son. She answered in a cheerful voice in an attempt to console her obviously troubled son. Take a stand before I return, he said, his eyes boring into hers. Fierce determination was in those eyes, yet she also clearly saw love and concern. The usually stoic Uchiha normally don't display emotion this openly, so whatever her son was getting at was going to be serious, very serious. How long will you be gone for? She asked hesitantly. Not long. In fact, I will be back by midnight. That soon? What kind of mission is it you're going on? A special ANBU mission. That's all I can say. Again, can you do that for me? I will try to make a stand by then. But why is it important for me to make a stand by then, Itachi-kun? Mikoto asked, worriedly. Itachi took a moment before answering. Let's just say that one answer makes my career as ANBU easier while the other makes me, not to mention my little brother, happy. Sasuke-kun? I didn't know he was politically interested, Mikoto said. Itachi laughed quietly, but it was a bitter laugh. No, he isn't. Not yet anyway. Itachi then turned around. Before he walked away, he turned his head to his mother. Until then, mother. With that, he headed for the door to attend his duties. Outside the mansion, Naruto and Sasuke had just arrived at the gate, and were walking on the path towards the entrance to the mansion. I didn't say you were dumb. Did I say that? No, I didn't, though. Sasuke said nonchalantly. No, but I can tell you were thinking it. Naruto accused with a sour pout. Oh, do you possess the Sharingan or something? Sasuke said with sarcasm. No, you're just not as hard to read as you'd like to think, team. Naruto said with a smirk. Sasuke was about to throw something back in their verbal war when the door opened in front of them. Out came Itachi. Itachi gave Sasuke a glance and Naruto an even shorter glance before walking down the path. Just as he passed the two, he said with a neutral voice, Sasuke, Itachi Nizan. Sasuke greeted back. When Itachi was beyond earshot, Naruto commented, yeah, I can see why you'd brood because of his attitude. Shut up, Dobe. Something was bothering him more than usual this time. Sasuke said somewhat indignant. How could you tell? Naruto asked, both sarcastically and honestly. He only addresses me as Sasuke instead of little brother when he's preoccupied with his work. I thought you said he did that often. What's so special about this time? I guess I should tell you that he has also different faces for different states of emotion. Like what? Neutral, stoic, emotionless, and unreadable? Sasuke briefly considered pounding Naruto for his inconsideration but let it go as it was, after all, Naruto. The goofiest and most unpredictable academy student. It was his nature to try to lighten up any gloomy situation. Besides, how was Naruto supposed to know that Itachi seemed sad? Dobe, he was sad. Sasuke said seriously. Oh. I wonder what got him that way. Naruto had the decency to look a tad embarrassed. Your guess is as good as mine. If it's work-related, then we'll never know. And it's almost always work-related. I'm willing to bet it is 100% work-related. Sasuke said grimly. I'll take you up on that. Naruto said cheekily. Say what? Sasuke said incredulously. I'll bet it was family-related. The winner has to buy the other ramen for a day. Naruto said with a grin and his hands behind his neck, already seeming to be certain of his victory. Naruto, is this something we should bet on at all? Sasuke said. Fine, if you don't think you'll win, Naruto said with a shrug, but keeping his cheeky grin. Sasuke, not one to back down from a challenge, growled. Alright, Dobe. You're on.